Hello viewers, a very warm good morning from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Sese and you're watching the Gambia's first private TV station. It is 9 a.m. here in the Gambia and it is of course, we bring you live coverage of the 2023 legal year opening to be presided over by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow at the High Court premises. Of course, that's where the Supreme Court as well is in the capital, Banjul. My name is Aliou Sese and I'm joined in the studio by my colleague, Judicial. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you, Aliou. Good morning to you, and of course, good morning to our viewers from wherever you're watching us from. We're back again to yet another interesting edition. I hope this should be really fun because the legal year, it's an important event in the judicial calendar. So we are back and welcome. Do stay tuned for the interesting events that will be unfolding during the day. Indeed,
as you said, important event in the calendar of the judiciary because this is a moment when judicial officials, of course, including the President, will meet once again to assess the achievements registered under the judiciary, which is very important as far as, strengthening our democracy is concerned. The judiciary interprets the law, and then such an event, they assess the achievements registered, but also look at some of the challenges hindering, the progress as far as work at the judiciary is concerned. Like I said, the event will be presided over by the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow. And of course, this will be followed by a statement by the President of the Gambia Bar Association, Saliu Tal. Of course, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Jallow, will also make a statement. And we have the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallow, will also make an address at the event. And this will be followed by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, who, when he assumed power in 2017, promised to Gambianize the Gambian judiciary, which was at the time dominated by foreign judges. And this is something that we have seen the government is able to achieve since he took over in 2017. Like, most of the superior courts, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, the High Courts are all occupied by Gambians, something we really have to comment the current government. But still, there's a lot of work to do as far as ensuring a much more independent judiciary is concerned in this country. We've seen since 2017, we have seen a much more independent judiciary under the current government.
Exactly, Aliou. If you look at, if you compare the judiciary now and before, you realize that they've registered a lot of successes when it comes to, Gambianizing the judiciary. Before it was dominated by foreigners. And of course, we've seen that, the independence and of course the credibility of the judiciary. People were doubting it. People do not have trust in the judicial system of the country. But, as the years unfold, we have seen that, there is increased trust, in the judiciary. And of course, because Gambians are presiding over these cases. Before we've seen that, cases will be there going forth and back and forth, and then they will not be able to have justice. But now we've seen that there is quick dispensation of justice, and which is very good, which will consolidate our, growing democracy. Because before also, we've seen that the state interfering a lot in the judiciary. They will say that, okay, this will happen and that's it. Or even if there is a case that is as serious as murder or whatever, if they want, they can just brush it under the carpets. But we've seen that in this country now, even President Barrow lost. Even the president for the first time.
Between the president and the then nominated member Yakumba Jaite.
Exactly.
Which was a test case for the independence of the Gambian
judiciary. And he lost. And one would have, would never expected that the president of the republic will lose a case against another nominated member. Exactly. During Jammeh's time, nobody thought of that. In fact, that is a no-go area for the Gambia and, of course, the judiciary by then. And it was dominated by foreigners who are not Gambians. And, that really has a lot of impact in our judiciary because they are not us. They don't understand our setting. They don't understand our cultures and tradition. Even if they do, they don't care much about Gambia and, of course, its independence and democracy by then. They're just, concerned about what they are earning and, of course, what they're really getting from the state. But now we've seen that that is different. If the president can lose to a nominated member, I mean, that really shows how independent the judiciary is, and that would really show Gambians that, you know, we are not here to joke. The judiciary is independent. Nobody is above the law, and whosoever violates the law will face the full consequences of the law. So I think that is really important.
Indeed, quite very important. But once again, I mean, all these things couldn't have been achieved, I mean, without, I mean, the dynamic leadership of the current Chief Justice, Hassan Jallow, and of course, I mean, the previous ministers. You know, you had the previous minister, Batambidu, and now we have the minister of course, I mean, Dawda Jallow, who are spearheading all these reforms that are happening in the judicial sector.
Exactly. And, you know, the Chief Justice, Hassan B. Jallow, did mention sometime in 2015-16, he came categorically clear to outline some of the challenges that are facing the judiciary, which he said that, you know, he is worried about the independence of the judges and, of course, the lawyers in the judicial, you know, in the dispensation of justice. So he said that there is a need for the judges and, of course, the lawyers to be really independent. And, you know, that will really determine a lot about, because that can break and make or break a country. If the judiciary is not independent, that is really a serious case in any country. But then he outlined the fact that the judiciary needs to be more independent. And of course, he outlined the fact that they're facing challenges in terms of equipment, you know, in terms of the gadget that they're using. Because he said that most of these cases are delayed, because not because they don't have, the human resource is a problem, but because they don't have the necessary equipment to be able to fast track some of these cases. I mean, a case that should take you know, maybe 6 months or 3 months will take, you know, for a year or more, just because they don't have the necessary equipment or the technology in place to be able to
especially during the COVID-19 period.
I mean, exactly, where, you know, we are expected all, you know, to make some digitalize the system. And I think the COVID-19 has really taught us a great lesson for the fact that we should graduate from the manual system to a more digital system. For the fact that, because we've seen that there is a, you know, there was a disruption, you know, during the COVID-19 pandemic, especially the judiciary. There was a huge disruption because, you know, cases were not going as normal. Witnesses, there is that physical distancing, and of course, people were not allowed to come closer. And of course, even witnesses, sometimes it takes time. So all these things, you know, taught us as a country to be more vigilant, to be ready, of course, to adapt to the growing changes of the world, to adopt technology, you know, especially the judiciary. And of course, it helps in records. In this country, if you go to most of these institutions, you find out that they don't have records. You go to judiciary,
and most of them are manual.
Manual. Imagine that can
most of them are in books, I mean, papers.
Honestly.
I mean, sometimes you wonder what happens if there's a fire outbreak, like we have seen in the case of the Minister of Fisheries.
Exactly.
When we had that fire outbreak, they lost all their documents.
So what happens then in a sector like that? How can you hold those people to account? But something like the judiciary, we can't afford to lose the documents there. I mean, we can't really afford. So that is why it's important to digitalize this whole system. And of course, the judiciary as well, we've seen that before, you know, it was male-dominated like other sectors. But now, you know, women are coming. We have women judges, women lawyers, and of course, you know, under the leadership of Hassan B. Jallow, they, you know, determined to empower the women, to make sure that we have more women judges, more women lawyers, and even the president. During his last year's speech, he spoke of the importance of having women in the forefront, especially in the judiciary, to help in the dispensation of justice. So I think it's really, really important. You know, the judiciary is in the right direction, considering all that, you know, before the challenges that they've been encountering, you know, when it comes to the delivery of justice and all that, how it would take some years, but now at least it is quick, even though
we still have some cases, pending cases,
you know, and they need, honestly, they need justice. Exactly. But that is quite understandable, because they admitted the fact that they still
but
need
in terms
resource.
of access to justice, I mean, people now can, you know, even, you know, you have magistrates across the country. I mean, you have the high courts in Basse, in other parts of the country, and people are, you know, sitting over cases. And I think for me, that's quite important as far as access to justice in the country is concerned. And because of that, we have seen the Chief Justice, I mean, you know, they have the strategy plan 2021-2025, which will give them direction as to where they want to be by 2025. For me, that's a that's a welcome development under the Chief Justice.
Exactly. It gives them a sense of direction as to what they really want, to prioritize the judicial system. Before, we don't have priorities. Before, there was no need like, okay, we need to build more courts, we need to hire more staff, or before we need to educate, we need to train. Before, you hardly hear people saying that, okay, the judiciary is organizing a training for the people in terms of sentencing, in terms of their ethics, in terms of all other sectors. You think that, okay, it's important in the judiciary. But now they are doing that, you know, informing their members of the need to really reflect and uphold the ethics of this very noble profession, which I think is very, very important. That strategic plan. And now,
indeed, Julia, I'll come back to you. I mean, I understand our reporter, Modlamin Choi, who is currently in Banjul covering the event for us, is on the line. Choi, I mean, what more can you tell us from Banjul as we speak?
Thank you very much, Aliu. It's a pleasure to join you. We are live at the Judiciary complex, where the High Court is the Supreme Court, where also other courts are. And right now, what we are about to witness is the opening of the legal year 2023. It's an annual event presided over by His Excellency President Adama Barrow, you know, plus some members of the judiciary, of course, led by His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow. And what we are witnessing right now is people coming in one by one, and you've seen just behind me empty seats. So in a very short moment, or you know, some couple of minutes to come, we will witness the arrival of you know, His Excellency the President and members of the judiciary, of course, led by the Chief Justice of the Gambia. So just to take you through on the agenda of the program, you know, today, guests are taking seats, and from there, the procession of the bench and the bar from the polyclinic. So there'll be a procession starting from the polyclinic right at Independence Drive, heading to the judiciary complex here in Banjul. So we will also witness the arrival of the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly. This is such a very unique occasion because all the branches of government would gather at one event, you know, for the legal year opening. So significantly, National Assembly members plus the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly will also be around. So that will be, of course, followed by arrival of His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, and he will be received by His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow. So effectively from there, there will be a national salute, and the national anthem will be played, marking effectively the beginning of the, you know, of the event here. So there will also be, you know, prayers by the Imam Ratib of the Gambia and you know, the chairman of the Gambia Christian Council. So from there, there will be statements. Statements will be delivered because this is an occasion. It's a stock-taking moment because the judiciary will reflect on its past, present, and look forward to the future. So to tell you their achievements, their priorities, their challenges in the presence of the you know, the executive and other development partners. We've also seen members of the diplomatic corps arriving to grace this occasion. So there will be a statement by the president of the Gambia Bar Association, who is the head of the you know, the Association of Lawyers, then followed by the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the Chief Legal Advisor of the government, which is the Attorney General, will also deliver a speech. And that will be followed by a statement from His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow, who will deliver his speech. And usually in his speech, he will tell us about, you know, the achievements, the reforms that the judiciary has registered over the years. Will also tell us about the challenges that the judiciary is facing in terms of infrastructure, in terms of other areas. So from there also, he will tell us about the plans. What are the plans? What are the visions, the objectives that they will want to achieve in the coming years? And of course, the judiciary alone won't able to do it, and therefore he will call, you know, the close partnership and collaboration among all the stakeholders that are involved in the process of ensuring that we have a judiciary that is independent, that is strong, that really administers justice and guarantees the fundamental human rights of people in this country. So that speech will be delivered. That's the final, speech, of course, which is from the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency President Adama Barrow. Usually, he would come and speak in solidarity with the judiciary. Last year, we've had his statement highlighting how the judiciary is important in our democracy, how the judiciary is important for the rule of law, and how the judiciary is important also in the governance system and structure of this country, and what his executive is trying to do in ensuring that at least they are independent and the objective is also delivered. So that will be that will wrap up the event, and we will witness His Excellency the President meeting the staff of the judiciary and the Attorney General's chambers and Minister of Justice. So right from there, at least the President of the Republic of the Gambia, with judiciary staff, including judges, of the High Court, the Supreme Court, and other courts of the Gambia, will have a chance for the first time in a year to sit with the President in a room and, to interact just very briefly. And from there, His Excellency departs after the national salute is delivered, and which, of course, is the national anthem. The national anthem will be played by either the Gambia Police Force Band or the Gambia Armed Forces Band. So, Alio, we are witnessing still the arrivals of guests. Some ministers have already arrived and they've taken their seats. And very shortly, the program will start effectively when the President arrives and His Lordship, the Chief Justice.
Like you said, I mean, this is a quite unique occasion, because this way you have like you said, the Speaker of the National Assembly will be there, the President, the Executive, the Judiciary, I mean, these three arms of the government all coming together under one roof, I mean, to discuss about the achievements and challenges of this key, very important, sector, I mean, that's the Judiciary. I mean, what are you foreseeing to be highlighted as the key challenges by the Chief Justice or the Minister of Justice, Jallow, in this year's legal year opening? Choi?
Aliu, I think I'm struggling to hear you because we have a sound system behind us and there's a commentary going on.
I can imagine, but what I'm asking...
get back to you.
Yes, my colleague here is struggling to hear me because of there's a the PA system that's really affecting the our communication there. But you have heard from Choi. I will come back to you briefly. Mbokk nga mi ina siran QTV di len dalalat fi ci QTV the Gambia's first private TV station di len ni li nga ne mo nekk ubité li nga ne mo nekk negi atekaay nga xam ne moo nekk fale ca Banjul moo nekk negi atekaay bu mag bi fi nga xam ne du yàgg rek nga ne moo nekk jiiti réew mi His Excellency President Adama Barrow dina fa àgga pour fekkee li nga xam ne moo nekk ubbite negi atekaay ci at bi 2023 comme loolu ko déggee suma naataango rek Modou Lamine Choy ak suma collègue hier Julde Ndiaye li nekk na loo xam ne bés bu am solo la ci soo xoolee si liggéey yi nga xam ne moo nekk néegi atekaay dañ ko dee def so lii def di ubbi yoon pour ñi nga xam ne moo nekk judicial staff si ñu mën a waxtaan ak askan wi lan achievements la gars yi am si at bu passé ak yan jafe-jafe lañ nekk di jànkuwanteel and then ñu jéem a seet lan la ñu mën a use pour mën a saafaral challenges yooyu noonu loolu moo nekk di am fale ca Banjul comme ni ngeen ko déggee suma naataango Modou Lamine Choy mbaɗi ngol mel ɓe QTV juuɓe kan alɓe QTV juuɓe kan Gambia's first private TV station mbi ɗum ɓe mennata naati kan walla mu ikafme kiti bungola yerelo ikamenke sango sang wala be kering Banjul sate bakono dula miano ko atemela na banko nyata ko His Excellency President Adama Barrow abinaje aning ke mabe ni yeloro miano ko kumata bake katu nyimu kulti miano ko akake sango sang dula miano ko mol miano ko ibe doko la kiti bungoto ika benne pour ko kacha amin ila ya kol yemen soto sango men tambita baden yemun achievement si vaso sango men tambita walbe kering anyin tambento Banjul sata kono musidɓe gonɓe ndaɗo QTV ɗon ɗo joni ko hono ndaɗo QTV de Gambia's first private TV station komin musidɗo mon Aliou Cissé woni ɗo he musidɗo amen Julde Ndiaye on nani colleague amen Modou Lamine Choy gono ɗo Banjul ko gomi gadde on di ko ko mbiyete ko on woni udditde suudu ñawoɓe gonɗo toon Banjul ko toon min goni addanga mon live images ɗo ganduɗa ɓoyata rek si Allah jaaɓi président Adama Barrow o hewtat pour o tawe e ngo udditgo suudu ñawoɓe to Banjul. I mean, Julde, if you go by the agenda, you will realize that this is not this is almost a week event.
Exactly.
I mean, aside from today's opening to be presided over by the president, we've also seen tomorrow, like on Monday, there will be that's the annual call to bar ceremony at the law courts in Banjul. I mean, we also have a forum on business and human rights for judges. There will also be training of district tribunal chiefs and scribe law courts complex at Banjul, and it goes on until next week. So I mean, there's a lot on the agenda as far as I mean this year legal year opening is concerned. I mean, before bala ñu doon dem si Choy yaa ngi doon waxtaan si lu am solo moo nekk achievements yi nga xam ne judiciary bi am na ko si at bu passé ak jafe-jafe yi nga am nañ ko. yow soo doon bamtuwaat I mean naka nga gisee judiciary bi from 2017 ba tey fu ñu toll nii.
xam naa ne daal gars yi register nañ achievements yu bari because soo seetee time boobu noonu judiciary bi da nga xool ne ñu fa nekk si àttekat yi luwa bi comme ñu fa nekk ñoo nekk ne foreigners lañ nekkuñ ay Gambian so as a result duñ dee xool interest si Gambia that much seen interest rek lañ doon xool te time boobu noonu da ngaa gis néegu attekaay bi dafa yéex da ngaa gis ne benn case mu nekk foofu noonu ay at you know si benn case boo xam ne daal dafa simple sa nekkul case boo xam ne sa dafa jafe so waaye léegi gis nañ ne loolu noonu yëpp génn na fi da ngaa dem foofu noonu ñu àttee la si lu gaaw te lu nekk loo xam ne dafa jaar si yoon waa time boobu dafa dem ba jamono boo xam ne daal nit ñi lose nañ trust óolootuñ di judiciary as a result comme loolu daf dee andi conflict yu bari comme any case bu fa dem rek da ngaa toog ba soo amee problème sax dañuy wax ne yow moom foo nekk di dem moom da ngaa loo sa bopp rek because fooguñ ne di nga fa am loo xam ne daal moo nekk dinañ la àttee bu jub waaye léegi gis nañ ne loolu yëpp nekkatu fi gis nañ ne fii sax time boobu noonu président Barrow si moo nekk njiiti réew mi moom sax ñàkkoon na fi case so bu mu ñàkkee case bi time boobu la ñu ñi start di am óolute waat si judiciary bi ñu gis ne ok président boo xam ne daal musut a am because time yi Jammeh kenn xalaatul ne Jammeh dina lose a case against anybody waaye léegi gis nañ ne léegi président bi si boppam ñàkk na case bi su nominated member so time boobu lañ start di xoolaat suñ boppam ñu ne léegi daal gëm naa ne daal war nañoo trustaat ñii ñu jox lañ suñ óolute ndaxte loolu lu ko waral moo nekk ne léegi Gambian yi si boppam ñoo fa nekk ñuñ xam nañ lan moo nekk suñ jafe-jafe xam nañ ne dëkk bi ñoo ko moom su yaaxoo ñun ñoo ko yaaxa suñ ko defaree tamit si suñ boppa la so waaye time boobu noonu ñu fa nekkoon ñooñu faale yoon daanaka ñu bari sax léegi ñibbi te seen dëkk yi time boobu Gambia bi su taalee sax ñooñu seen ñoo nekku si ndaxte ñibbi nañ so ñun ñoo fi des dëkk bi suñ dëkk la so moo tax léegi mu am solo dangaa gis ne time boobu noonu sax comme ñu fa nekk bari wuñ si wàllum ñoo xam ne judges si ñu bari ñoo xam ne ñu fa woon waaye foreigners lañ ñu fi nekka deeno given the opportunity pour ñu war a dem foofu noonu wala dañ foog ne woon seen xam-xam màccawu si wàllum boobu noonu waaye gis nañ ne léegi bari na torop surtout jigéen ñi si boppam bari nañ si judiciary bi bari boo xam ne daal léegi daal macha allah ñu gis ne daal case si ñu ngee dem ñu ngee gaaw gis nañ ne case boo xam ne recently sax case bu controversial la waaye gis nañ ne am nañ justice you know case boobu mu dem waaye su dee ne time boobu la dafa jël ay at
exactly. And I think it's good. Linga was the game of Gambian Judiciary. I understand my colleague Monlami Choi is now back on the line. Choi, I was just trying to ask. I mean, what are you foreseeing, or what are you anticipating to hear from the Chief Justice as far as the key challenges confronting the judiciary in the country?
Thank you very much, Aliu. It's very interesting that you asked that question because that will be part of his speech. Having highlighted the reforms, the achievements that the judiciary has registered over the years in the dispensation of the current government. So we will be hearing from him talking about the fact that the judiciary lacks adequate funding. And you know, the Judicial Strategic Plan 2021-2025 was launched over a year ago, and it was during an event such as this that it was launched, and the president was also around. So it was launched by His Excellency the President Adama Barrow in the 2021 legal year. So he'll be talking about the fact that the judiciary lacks adequate funding, and you know how dispensation of justice, how expensive it is, because It's an institution that is very important in a democracy for the delivering of rule of law and democracy. It's the court that people will resort to when there are, disputes. So the Chief Justice will tell us about the fact that there is not adequate funding for the judiciary. And he will also tell us about the non-automation of courts, lack of adequate capacity. And capacity is very important because without the capacity, all the plans and, the challenges that they have faced without the capacity, it wouldn't be, delivered accordingly. So the judiciary needs more capacity, and currently it is lacking that as part of its challenges. Lack of adequate courtrooms and offices. This is a very perennial challenge, but we've seen developments happening just today or in the coming days. As part of the highlights of the legal year 2023, we'll be witnessing the opening of a court complex in Bundung, which is part of also, the expansion of the, of the infrastructure of the judiciary to ensure that at least justice is at the doorsteps of every Gambian in the country. So these are some of the challenges. We wouldn't want to preempt the speech of the Chief Justice, but for our viewers who are watching right now, these are some of the things that we might be hearing from the Chief Justice telling us about as part of the challenges of the judiciary.
And like you mentioned, I mean, you talked about issue of funding for the sector. What do you think he might say as suggestions in terms of getting the required funding? I mean, the required funds to ensure the effective service delivery of the judiciary sector. Because I'm sure the government is allocating a budget to the judiciary every year.
Yeah, yes. This will come through the government's budget. If the government commits to ensuring that there is proper funding, usually funding cannot be, adequate per se, given our socio-economic challenges, the socio-economic challenges facing our country. But the executive might be committed to ensuring that at least, the judiciary is supported. Usually, the budget of the judiciary goes to the National Assembly. As one of the independent institutions of the country, the executive cannot touch or tamper with the, draft estimates or draft budget of the, of the judiciary. So it goes to the National Assembly. It is the National Assembly that will have that power, that legislative mandate to reduce or add to the, to the budget of the, of the judiciary. So it is not only about the executive. The executive, is a player. The executive is a stakeholder. But I think the bargaining also should be between the judiciary and the National Assembly, because ultimately the final decision of how much the judiciary receives comes from the National Assembly. So also, other part of it, we've seen the judiciary also partnering with other development partners, supporting it. One of them, the UNDP, the UN agency, and other development partners of the country, across the world. So these are the people who would have to come together, discuss the challenges, and look for possible means of supporting the judiciary financially and technically.
And how much with the lack of adequate fund, like you said, I mean, there cannot be adequate fund, I mean, for every sector. But how much does the lack of adequate fund affects, I mean, the judiciary's plans? I mean, as we speak, I mean, you understand, I mean, just last week they organized a validation of a bill which seeks to, I mean, establish the Gambia Institute for Judicial Training. We also understand, as we speak, I mean, the president in December said, I mean, his government is currently working on a bill that seeks to improve the working condition of judiciary staff. How much does the lack of fund really going to affect, I mean, these plans?
Absolutely. With the lack of funding, that can lead to lack of inadequate staff, lack of infrastructure, or inadequate infrastructure, let's put it that way. Without the inadequate infrastructure across the country, because at least we need in every region courts, every region needs to access, the magistrate courts, access the high court. Of course, the Supreme Court is usually, usually sits here. But in order to at least diversify or to, at least to try and decentralize the justice delivery system of the country, there should be expansion of the infrastructure of the judiciary across the country, so that at least people can easily access justice. Because with the lack of funding, it has also caused backlog of cases. We've seen people who have been alleged on capital offenses. Usually some of these capital offenses charges cannot secure bail, the granting of bail, because that's a threshold. If it has to do with certain, capital offenses, one may not able to get bail from the courts. And you are remanded to the, prisons. We've seen people who've been, accused, remanded, and they're spending years in jail. So this is not because, lack of commitment from the, from the executive, but major part of what is causing that is the fact that the judiciary doesn't have the adequate capacity and the funding it needs in order to ensure that there is speedy and proper justice delivery system in the country. And we will hear from the Chief Justice to tell us about that as part of the challenges that the inadequate funding has caused for the judiciary very shortly when he is giving his speech.
Choi, just briefly, I'm going to engage you in Wolof now for the sake of our Wolof viewers and listeners. I'm not sure how good your Mandinka is, but perhaps if it is good, you can also tell us.
You will have to bail me out on that one.
Okay.
Mbokk yi jërë ngeen jëf ñu leen a gërëm bu baax a baax ñu ngi nii Banjul nii right now si court bi fii nag lañ dee àtte si dëkk bi lañ dee ñëw si court si foofu moo nekk pencum àttekaay bi te bokk na si si government bi because government da nga am ñoo xam ne dañoo defar loi am ñoo xam ne ñoom dañoo implement loi yooyu dañoo doxal loi yooyu noonu pour mu am ñeneen ñu nga xamante ni ñoom ñooy make sure ne at least loi yooyu noonu képp ku nga xamante ni sa ak sa yelloo yàq nañ ko yow da nga ñëw si àttekaay bi fii nii pour ngeen xool naka lañ koy solver so judiciary bi tey fu mu nekk nii nag ñoom ñu ngi am lu ñu ooyee opening of legal year 2023 atum atemu 2023 moom la ñu ñëw ubbi te bii nag foog nga ne moo gën a nekk event bu gën a mag si calendar yi judiciary bi waaye because of dee nekk event bu nga xamante ni nekkut only àttekat yi ñoo fi dee nekk waaye executive bi lañ fi dee nekk executive bi mooy foofu la président bi nekk ak ministre si ñoom ministre si gis ngeen si gannaaw fii nii ñaari siit yooyu noonu dinañ gis président bi foofu si bu bulu boobu noonu foofu la président bi di toog bu green bi foofu la his lordship chief justice mooy koo xam ne moo jiite àttekat yi si Gambie foofu la moo toog beneen side bi fële ne dinañ am jooji si àttekat yi ñoom dinañ toogee noonu so ñu ngi gis cabinet ministre si cabinet président Adama Barrow bi almost mun nañoo wax ne majority of them all of them dinañ ñëw fii nii pour toog occasion la boo xam ne at least judiciary bi legislature bi ak executive bi yëpp dañoo dajaloo pour ñu discuss so chief justice bi nag moom dina wax bokk na suñuy wax ak président Adama Barrow.
Choi, the procession has started now, as you perhaps because you are in the High Court. We are not seeing some of those images, but as we speak, I mean, procession bi door na gars ñu ngi jublu sa ci Supreme Court premises.
Yes. That's the procession led by the police band. Right behind the police band are the judges, in front of which is the Chief Justice, His Lordship Hassan B. Jallow, and behind the Chief Justice, justices of the Supreme Court, followed by High Court judges. Yes. So this is the development that we're witnessing right now, a procession of members of the bench who are, of course, the judges, the magistrates, and the caddies. Just right at the last row, as part of the members of the bench in this procession, are the caddies in black robe and green, combined with green scarf sort of. And then after the caddies, and there are the lawyers, of course, and in front of which is the Attorney General. If I have good eyesight, that's the Attorney General, who is, of course, the Minister of Justice, Jallow, who is the Chief Legal Advisor of the government of President Adama Barrow. Of course, he's both a member of the executive and also the judiciary, given his role. Most of the cases filed in the name of the state are filed through the Attorney General's chamber, of course, which is headed by the Chief Legal Advisor of the government. Behind the Attorney General is the Solicitor General, who is also among the most senior members of the Attorney General, right after the Minister is the next in command. You also have very senior judges following the Solicitor General. Yes, very senior lawyers, of course, following the Attorney General there, as part of the procession and the highlights of the opening of legal year 2023 here in the Gambia's capital, Banjul, right very close to the arch, the Never Again Arch, of course. And there they will be lining in rows, the lawyers at one side and members of the bench on the other side. So coming from Independence Drive at the State House at the left, on our left hand side, we have the lawyers, and on our right, members of the bench, and of course, it's where the Chief Justice also will be. That's it. So the next item on the agenda will be the arrival of the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, as scheduled here on the agenda. And that will be followed by the arrival of His Excellency. Of course, we were meant to have the Vice President. Maybe somebody is coming in in that capacity. But on the agenda, we have the arrival of His Excellency, the Vice President. And that will be followed by arrival of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, who will be received at where they are standing right now, right along the red carpets. His Excellency, the President, will soon be arriving and will be received by His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow. mbokk yi jërë ngeen jëf ñu ngi nii right now si Gambia Judiciary of the Gambia si pencum àttekaay réew mi te nag legal year opening leen ñu ngi ubbi atum àtte mi at bu nekk dañ ko dee def nga xam ne président Adama Barrow daf koy teewee moom nag dina ànd ak ay ministre si am na si ñoo xam ne toog nañ ba pare léegi lu ñu fekkee ni rek mooy ne lawyers yi mooy ñu nga xamante ni ñoom ñoo di dimbale si àtteem réew mi ñoom agsi nañ àttekat yi ñoom ñoo nekk ñu sol ñu reed yi ak black yi ak wig si wig yu magam
jërëjëf Modou Lamine Choy viewers, you're watching through TV. This is a live broadcast from the capital Banjul, where the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, is going to preside over the opening of the legal year 2023 at the Supreme Court premises in Banjul, just right next to the Never Again Memorial Arch in the capital Banjul. As you have heard from my colleague Modou Lamine Choy there, that was a procession by the by the members of the bench and the bar from the polyclinic, on Independence Drive in the capital, Banjul. And any moment from now, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Bubacar Jata, will also arrive at the venue before the arrival of His Excellency the President of the Republic, who, as you have just heard from my colleague there, will be received by the Honorable Chief Justice Hassan B. Jallow and the Gambia's Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dawda A. Jallow. And then this will be followed by, of course, as it's a norm in the Gambia, the invocation of religious prayers by the Imam Ratib of Banjul and, of course, a representative of the Gambian Christian Council. This will be followed by statements, by the President of the Gambia Bar Association, Salou Tal. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dawda Jallow, will also make a statement. His Lordship, the Chief Justice, Haji Hassan B. Jallow, and of course, a statement by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow. This will be followed by a meeting between the President and the Judiciary staff, and of course, the President will then depart to State House, which is just, minutes drive from where the event is taking place. Jude, you've heard from our colleague Modlamin Choi, and it appears any moment from now the event will start. Our former very good colleague Fatimata Cham, who is now the director of press and public relations, communication and public relations, is going to moderate this important occasion.
Exactly. Like he said, he was talking about a very important aspect, that is the financing of the judiciary. We've seen that in 2019-2020, there was an increment for the judiciary and, of course, the National Assembly members, which received huge criticisms from the public, saying that, it's a waste of state resources and all that. But, looking at it, the judiciary really needs money in order to fight corruption in the judiciary.
Exactly.
They ought to have a huge salary, because if they don't have, what it does is it will encourage corruption. If the judge can easily be bribed with $100,000 fee, it means that is really serious. But if the judge is really having a huge salary, no matter how much the money is, you cannot easily bribe them. So that is why it is important. A sector like the judiciary should be empowered. They should have the financial muscle to be able to do their work effectively and efficiently, without which there would be a problem. We as a country, we cannot afford to have a judiciary that is corrupt. We cannot afford to have a judiciary that will be bribed easily. So it's important for us to really, honestly, I don't really mind if the judiciary, every year they're increasing their salary. Because I think the more independent the judiciary, the more that will consolidate our growing democracy.
And like you said, it's not only going to help in attracting qualified and competent judges in this sector, but it will also help in retaining them.
Exactly. It retains
the retention
them.
Aspect of it is key here.
And we've seen that now most of these judges or lawyers, they're having their own law firms and all that. They're using private cases and all that than state cases. And we've seen that the issue of, talking of the independence of the judiciary recently, of the attempted, plot recently, and we see that what
exactly. I'm being told the event is about to start. Okay. Let's now go back to the High Court or the Supreme Court premises, where yes. Let's just pause. We will get back to our former colleague Fatimata Cham, who is now, like I said, who is the Director of Communications and Public Relations at the Judiciary. Who is going to moderate this occasion. Okay. Yeah, you were talking about issue of funding, and we were talking about issue of attracting qualified and competent people in this sector, but also retaining them. There's one thing also that the Chief Justice has been advocating is the issue of having good retirement benefits for some of these judges. Yeah. Which is important.
It's important. If you want to retain someone, especially a Gambian judge, you ought to pay the person. If the person is not paid and the person is qualified, they would go and work with international agencies, and that is what we've seen. Like in previous years, most of these Gambian judges and lawyers would go outside and have international appointment, which is not bad as a country, because outside it is selling our image as a country. Yeah. But then we need them internally to be able to help in the country, to be able to have cases delivered on time. And of course, those who are remanded at mile 2 for so many years, they deserve justice. As the saying goes, justice delayed is justice denied. And these people who have been there for so many years, and some of them, you will be surprised, at the end of the day, they will be discharged. you know, they will be found that they are not guilty after all, after spending so many years in prison, just to come out and say that one day you're not guilty, you're innocent. So that is really painful. So that is why it's important to really, you know, increase the salaries of the judges. And not only that, infrastructure-wise, you know, to build a lot of complexes around the country, not just the greater Banjul area, but let us decentralize the whole issue. It's important to have it in Mansa Konko, those, someone who is down there in Basse, you know, in Sandu, in Fonyi. We need to decentralize all these things to be able
like I said, it's important. We have seen cases here where a judge will be absent because he doesn't have a car to come to the courthouse.
So that
I mean,
is
these are some of the issues that, I mean, for me, it doesn't tell well, but I mean, going by this strategic plan of the Ministry of the Judiciary, 2021-2025, and of course, we did, like I said, the dynamic leadership of the current Chief Justice, and of course, the President, I mean, having the keen interest in ensuring that, you know, we have a much more motivated and independent judiciary. I think these are issues that will be addressed.
Exactly. It's important, and not just motivated and, you know, independent, but they should be able to have all the, you know, the equipment and the gadget, the necessary things to do their work effectively and efficiently. Just like this year's conversation, I mean, it's going to be centered on around the judiciary's vision in ensuring effective and efficient judicial system delivery, you know, to promote the rule of law. So that cannot happen if you have the competence, if you have the know-how, but you don't have the necessary equipment, you don't have the necessary gadgets or the necessary technology to be able to do your work effectively. I mean, that in itself will hinder the whole process, and it will jeopardize the whole process, and as a result, we will not get to where we really want to as a country.
And that's why often people will say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so that I tell people, to whom much is expected, much should be given. You know, I always have this argument with some people. To whom much is expected, much should be given. In as much as you are saying, okay, to whom much is given, much should be expected. And in this case, I believe, in as much as we expect much from the judiciary, then obviously much should be given to them to ensure they're able to effectively carry out their mandate as judges, who are, of course, interpreting the law.
Yeah. So I think the judiciary is one of the most, you know, important sector, you know, of the government, if not the most, because the judiciary and the National Assembly, which is the legislature, they have a very important role to play. These are the people who can easily make or break this country. The National Assembly they make laws. Of course, the judiciary interprets the law, which is quite obvious.
Law, they approve the budget.
The national budget, of course. And everybody's talking about the budget. Exactly, you know, every year we are spending millions and millions and billions of dollars, and we don't get to see where these funds are going to. As a country, if we reflect back 5 years ago and now, you know, you tend to see that, okay, the improvements in all these sectors, you realize that where are all these billions going to? Yeah.
And that's why it's good we start having KPI. That's the key performance indicators.
Exactly.
If you said, okay, this is what we want to achieve in the next 6 months, you should come back and tell us this is what I've achieved. Like the former vice president, who was suggesting such. I mean, that, you know, we should start having this sort of performance indicators.
For accountability purpose. You know, we need that as a country. So, you know, we are going in the right direction in as much as, you know, we're still facing lapses here and there. But I think we are still in the right direction as a country when it comes to the judiciary, when it comes to the independence of the judiciary. And the reason why I said that is because even like I was saying, the recent attempted coup issue, something like that, there was an alleged, exactly. There was a person there who did not have a lawyer. And, you know, the case could not proceed because they said the state must provide a lawyer for that, you know, alleged attempted person. I mean, that is in itself is a good move as a country. Because, you know, for the fact that he does not have a lawyer, it means, you know, that case cannot proceed. You know, because he does not have a legal representation. And
in this case, the state is now obliged to provide a lawyer for that particular person.
Even though it is, you know, it's against versus the state, of course, but they should provide him a lawyer. So it means that the judiciary is really in the right direction as a country, and we should support them, you know, in their, you know, quest to make it. And of course, in terms of funding too, not only by giving them salaries and giving them good houses and all that, but people, upcoming lawyers who want, we know that it's expensive. Education is really expensive. I mean, even the sponsorship aspect, giving the lawyers the, you know, necessary money, sponsorship and all that to be able to do their work or to be able to come competent lawyers. I think that is really, really important, because a lot of people are sitting at home, they want to be lawyers, but they don't have the money to further their education. So I think even that should, be put into consideration.
Yes, I mean, like I said, I mean, you're talking about the issue of, expansion, I mean, access to justice. I mean, according to the program guide, we are saying that will be at the inauguration of the Bundung New Courts Complex. I mean, this is important, right?
Very, very.
And also, that there will be that official taking over of allocated lands for construction of, courts facilities in Kerewan, North Bank region.
Decentralization.
Decentralization is now...
It's now taking center stage, and I think that is important. For the fact that, a person living in Kerewan does not have to go all the way to Basse or to come to the Greater Banjul area to be able to have justice. I mean, if the people within the Greater Banjul area can have that justice easily, they can have the facilities. Why not the one in Kerewan? Or the one in Mansakonko, or the one in, in my area, Sandrude. I mean, everybody deserves to be able to be treated fairly and to have a place where you can go and lodge your complaint and where you'll be given justice easily and, affordably and accessibly, of course.
Yeah, because, I mean, I remember in the past, around 2012, I mean, we used to have these traveling judges. I remember then when I was in Basse reporting as a journalist, we used to have Justice Inkia. Of course, he used to travel from the combos to Basse to preside over cases. I mean, all these things are now changing. And for me, it is good because, I mean, people down there, because like, okay, in Janjambure, Mansa Konko, Kerewan, even in Kuntawuru, like you said, Sandu, you can all have, magistrates courts there.
Exactly. I mean, it's possible. Honestly, as a country, we need to just be more determined. We just need to prioritize the judiciary, the legislature, and of course, we are good to go as a country. Because these two sectors, if they are really good, if they are efficiently moving, this country will move in the right direction, trust me. But if there is a problem within these sectors, we will have a problem as a country.
Like you said, I mean, if things are not done right, I mean, then we're going to have a problem, and we have to get it right.
Exactly.
To be able to, move forward as a country. Like the former Vice President said, Fudega Amut, they go do am. And it's important that, today's event is going to really, create that platform for honest discussion, I mean, regarding where we want to see our judicial sector by next year. I mean, going by the strategic plan 2021-2025. Like I said, viewers, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue here in the Gambia. My name is Aliu Sise, and I'm here with my colleague, Julde Njai, and our reporter, Modlamin Choi, is also in Banjul at the Supreme Court premises, where the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, is going to preside over the opening of the 2023 legal year. Those beautiful images you are saying, well, that's QTV for you. When we do it exceptionally well.
Exactly.
And that's exactly who we are. I mean, the team is working very hard to ensure that, when we do live coverage, we give you what you want to see. And that's exactly what we are doing. Bakshen and Abdul Sise are in Banjul with the camera and the drone and all those things. So it is us. This is what QTV is known for. That's why we said, I mean, we lead and others follow. Of course,
exactly.
I mean, we innovate.
And others follow.
And others follow, right?
We are innovators. And I think we need more innovators in this country. We need innovation in this country to be able to move. We need more TV stations like QTV.
Well, by the way, the proprietor of the TV is an innovator. So obviously, he believes in nothing is impossible. That's the chairman of the Q group for you. He believes nothing is impossible. And that's why we have a very dynamic team here at QTV, young and committed member of staff. Now, I mean, like, what are you expecting to hear from the president as far as this legal year's opening is concerned? What do you expect to hear from him, different from what he has been saying? I mean, he's always talked about the importance of Gambianizing the courts, the judiciary. He talks about his government's commitment to ensure we have a much more independent judiciary. I mean, are you hoping to hear something different from the president this time?
Before, last year, he talked about the issue of the COVID-19 having been, a factor for the, lapses in the judiciary and, of course, his entire government. This year, at least, we expect that we will not hear anything like COVID-19 has been a hindrance to the achievements of the judiciary.
Even though the impact is still affecting
of course.
institutions. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we also expect to hear him to talk about the strategic plan. You know, how far has
gone in terms of implementation.
Implementation process of the strategic plan.
Maybe the Chief Justice will help us in that.
Exactly.
In telling us how far they have gone as far as the plan is concerned.
Even the president, I mean, we can expect that from him,
yeah,
because we talked about it last year.
The minister must have briefed him how far they have come.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, okay, Leela, this is what we have done, and this is how far we have gone. And I made a promise for the fact that he will say that this is a promise made, promise kept, for the fact that he promised that he will Gambianize the judiciary, and he will make sure that, you know, the necessary infrastructure is there, and he will make sure that we have more lawyers, even female lawyers and judges, and we've seen that is happening in the judiciary. And of course, we also expect him to talk about, in terms of funding, what is his government putting in place in terms of supporting the judiciary, because I think that is important. It's eminent that everybody is talking about the challenges, and, you know, he knows the challenges, of course, and he will, you know, we expect him to come and say, come next year or this year, what is this government doing in terms of funding to support the judiciary? You know, we know that he will mention about the complexes and all that that are under construction or that should be constructed and all that. But we also expect him to talk about the funding and how far they will be able to make sure that the judiciary is more independent.
Well, I mean, those images you are seeing on the screens are members of the bench and the bar, I mean, who are already lined up,
Hassan, Jallow,
exactly, yeah, awaiting the arrival of the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, who will be there any moment from now. I mean, those are members of the, of course, the High Courts, I mean, the Supreme Court, the Courts of Appeal. I mean, you have these different stages of courts. I mean, so sometimes you must be a court reporter to
be able to differentiate all
the magistrates and then, you know, the tribunals and all those things. So that's mahoney for you there. I mean, you have the, I mean, the judges, I mean, all are standing now waiting for the arrival. Like you're talking about the issue of, you know, having more women in our judiciary. I mean, that's it for you. I mean, those images are telling you we still have strong women in the judiciary at, you know, highest level as far as, you know, dispensation of justice in this country is concerned. And this is beautiful, having more women in the judiciary.
It is. I mean,
when we are talking about gender parity, gender equality whatsoever, it shouldn't just be limited at the National Assembly.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be just about politics. But even in the judiciary and other sectors, we need more women.
Exactly.
Even in the executive, we need more women in cabinet.
Exactly, we do, Ali. Honestly, this is not about the issue of feminism.
I know. So what about you say, oh, she's one of them.
Exactly. They will always, when you start talking about women, people always attribute you to a feminist. But I say, hello, I'm not a feminist, but I'm just there to tell the truth.
Exactly.
The fact of the matter is we need more women in government. We need more women in key positions. You know, this, I mean, men cannot live without women. Every great man, behind him is a great woman.
I tend to disagree. I mean,
Aliu,
no, what I'm telling you, I tend to agree when people say, okay, behind every successful man is a woman.
Exactly.
For me, I disagree. Instead of saying behind, you said beside. Beside every man, a successful man is a woman. Women should be at the back.
Exactly.
It should be beside a man.
Thank you.
So for me, people should stop using behind.
Behind every man
beside.
there is, but
Beside.
I think that implies that the woman is the bedrock, the woman is the foundation at which the man is really laying on to be able to be successful, because it was a woman first. I mean, a woman gave birth to you, a woman took care of you, a woman clothed you, bathed you and everything, until, you know, a woman see you through all the stages of your life. So, I mean, that is...
So they are beside you then.
Exactly.
They are not behind you.
Exactly. So it's important, like, not change that connotation. It's important.
It's beside, not behind.
Beside.
So please, stop saying behind. It's beside.
So, Ali, we need more women in government. Like I keep saying, and people will be decided. I said, oh, trust me, if you give this country to a woman, within 5 years, you will see major changes. Trust me. I mean, women are leaders. We know that for a fact that wherever a woman is, you're committed. So that is why women should not be seen as backbenchers, but as partners in development to be able to, you know, work towards this country. The issue of this feminism and all that, I think because now, you know, we are seeing one another as competitors, and that should not be. a woman and a man should not see as a couple, but we should see ourselves as, you know, members and partners of development. And this country needs something like that. For example, look at Banjul City Council. It's headed by a woman, and honestly, despite all the challenges and all that, she has done great, you know, tremendously well when it comes to the transformation of Banjul City Council. So, and you see all.
I hope they wouldn't say Judah is now campaigning.
No, I'm not campaigning. Hello, I'm just saying how she was able to transform.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, we have viewers who cannot speak English or understand. I mean, perhaps, you know, you can also share with them what is exactly happening today in Banjul, in Mandinga and Wolof and Fula as well.
Okay, Ali. Ali, you're putting me on the spot.
Exactly.
So come in connect and you were here, Ali. That's important. Sigana, we about funding more neka halis come bunyuara def si judiciary bi. So then you feel next still now the fathers. Hamon ne dan yokal on judiciary bi come send halis bi send salary bi dan ko yokon. Why ñu bari ñun don ngañi gaay di wax ne lolu waruta am. Why dama tek na lolu dafa wara am because judiciary bi so amut halis gaay suñ leen fayute fay bu baax dafa tax gaay ñu korop. The guys suñ corrupté dëkk bi dina am problème because danga gis ne ku tooñ dafa nekk a case of kumba am day kumba amut day kii ku am xaalis kooku la ñoo jàppale ku amut xaalis kooku moom na faate te loolu su amee si dëkk rek dëkk boobu noonu dafa yaaxu foog naa ne loolu lañ fi gisoon for the past 22 years kumba am day kumba amut day te tax na ñu bari comme ñaaka nañ trust óolute si judiciary bi so as a result ñu bari duñ daan bugg a dem foofu sax because xam nañ ne moom fii moom suñ fi demee daal danoo luus wala lii moom duñ fa am loo xam ne du dëgg especially ñoo xam ne dañ ñaaka waaye gis nañ ne léegi loolu amatut judiciary bi Gambien yu bari ñoo fa nekk and
well, Jude, I mean, those images, that's the President Adama Barrow. They are arriving at the Supreme Court in a different, you know, outfit today, Your Excellency. I mean, the President is appearing different today. I mean, but that's how it is. I mean, when he appears for the opening of the legal year, I mean, that's quite, you know,
exactly.
Nice outfit there, Your Excellency, President Barrow. Well, I mean, viewers, I mean, you're watching QTV, and these are live images from Banjul, where, I mean, viewers, that was the national anthem of the Gambia, and that's the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, who was received on arrival by his Lord the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow, and the Minister of Justice, Jallow. The President is now meeting members of the bench and the bar. You know, he's extending pleasantries with them, greeting them. I mean, this is quite beautiful, having the President meeting members of the judiciary, a very important arm of government. I mean, they interpret the law, and I mean, this is a quite unique occasion for the President to have this interaction with members of the judiciary, which he rarely have with them. So it is important. I mean, like I said, viewers, I mean, that's the President of the Republic. Mbadingol melbe QTV jube kanyin tembe na banko nyatonko His Excellency President Adama Barrow aflente aputanang kiti bumbato membe Banjul ikafada mete Supreme Court lamian ko Supreme Court ning High Court bebe jele aman jamfa the never again arch lunto mol ka fa nung arch 22 but san ya to falene ikafa never again memorial arch wala be kerim Banjul sato kono atem abedame to sang banko nyato ko President Adama Barrow aputanang aning kitilal be ñoo konton kan ngalon ñi botaje binaduna programme kono effectively musidɓe an ɗon ɗo joni lamɗo men o président Adama Barrow o hewti ɗo ɗo Supreme Court Banjul ɗo ganduɗa o hewti pour tawede gona ɗum woni udditgo suudu ñawoɓe koye mata hitande foof ko ɗon woni wadde toto Banjul ɗo Supreme Court ɗo ganduɗa ɗum woɗɗani ko ido ko wiyeteno A22 joni ɓe mbecci inide joni wiye never again age gona toto Banjul ɗo wonɗo joni président Adama Barrow o hewti ɗon mbokki ngam yéen a ngi seetaan QTV di leen dalalaat rek di leen wan ne ba léegi yéen a ngi seetaan QTV the Gambia's first private TV station and ñu ngi broadcast from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue waaye sun crew bi tam ñu ngi Banjul ñoo leen nekk di indil des live images ni ngeen nekk di gis comme noonu leen ko nekk di gisee rek mu nekk ni président Adama Barrow egsi na fale ca Supreme Court bi mu nekk fi nga am high court bi tam soriwut ak never again aaj bi bu njëkk dañ ko daan wooye A22 waaye léegi dañ wëccu tur bi tuddee ko never again aaj fi mu nekk ni président Barrow mu ngi nuyuwante ak ñi nga xam ne moo nekk members of the bench ak baa bi gis ngeen ko tey président bi dafa appear in a different style xam nga yu bëri sama def sol xaftaan waaye tey moom dafa kosu tey boobu Barrow bi dafa kosu tey so tey Barrow bi dafa kosu xam naa tey he is looking different waaye at bu nekk nag ni la dee appear when it comes to legal year opening bi das dress code ni la dee appear pour ñëw fekkee li nga xam ne moo nekk ubbite legal year bi parce que lu am solo la I mean foo naa at bi moo nekk the only event boo xam ne président def de mën a ñëw am that interaction ak members of the judiciary te fanaa lu am solo la gis ngeen ko bi mu egsee ki nga xam ne moo nekk Chief Justice Hassan bi Jallow ak ministre Dawda Jallow ñoom ñoo ko welcome bi mu eggee ba wàcce si moto bi après loolu ngeen dégg ne sun police band bi ñu door li nga ne moo nekk national anthem bi fi mu nekk ni président Barrow pare na di nuyuwante ak members of the bench ak bar xam naa léegi dafa dem mu jël tooguam bi su toogee ba pare nag dinañ am li nga xam ne moo nekk ñaan comme ni ngeen ko xamee rek Gambia loolu àdduna fii fu ñuy daje rek balaa ñu commencé lu nekk foo ñu ñaan ndax yàlla def si jaama ñu commencé ko si jaama jeexal ko si alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin fi mu nekk nii xam naa ne imam ratib of Banjul ak nga xam ne moo nekk representative of the Gambian Christians Council ñoom ñooy def ñaan yooyu suñ paree nag ki nga xam ne moo nekk president of the Gambia Bar Association sun xarit sun mag Saliou Tall moom dina gaaral kaddu su ba pare nag nga ne moo nekk Attorney General and Minister of Justice Dawda Jallow moom tam dina fa gaaral kaddu su pare nag ñu am nga ne moo nekk Hassan bi Jallow papa si ñu bari maam si ñu bari and then mentor si ñu bari tam moom tam dina gaaral kaddu moom su pare nag ñu am nga ne moo nekk njiiti réew mi His Excellency President Adama Barrow moom tam dina gaaral kaddu après loolu nag moom tam dafa ñëw pour am dafa gisante ak nga ñoo nekk di liggéey si judiciary mu nekk staff bi and of course Attorney General bi and then of course the Minister of Justice moom tam dina gisante ak ñooñu tam su fa pare nag xam naa président bi moom comme after moom dafa dellu fale ca State House bi nga xam ne soriwut ak fu ñu nekk di am legal year opening bi loolu nag balaa moom muy dem dinañ am finally again the national anthem bi nga xam ne the Gambia Police Band ñoom ñoo koy tega comme viewers I mean you're still watching QTV and like I said I mean the president is still greeting members of the bar and bench I mean as part of activities marking the official opening of the 2023 legal year in the capital Banjul. My name is Aliou Cisse and I'm here with my colleague Julde Njai, and of course our reporter Modlamin Choi is in Banjul there bringing us updates as to whatever is happening there, but equally if you are watching it live on QTV. So that's what we do here at QTV. We are always available when the national events, I mean, we give you, I mean, coverage like no one else does. I mean, so that's QTV for you. We innovate, I mean, dynamic team. I mean, we have beautiful images that will give you a clear picture as to whatever is happening at an event that we cover. And that is the beauty about QTV Gambia. The president is still greeting members of the bench and the bar at the Supreme Court premises, just outside the Supreme Court, I mean, premises on the Independence Drive in the capital, Banjul. Jude, I mean, like I was just saying in the local languages, the president has arrived and then all the formalities have been done before he assumed his seat, and then, you know, we will now get into the proper event, which is going to be the speeches to be delivered by different individuals. I mean, like I said, the GBA, that's the Gambia Bar Association, I mean, the Attorney General, the Chief Justice, and the President himself. I mean, but I mean, looking at this thing, I mean, having the president having this rare interaction with members of the bar and the bench. I mean,
yeah,
this shouldn't be a missed opportunity.
Definitely. This shouldn't be a missed opportunity. This should be a moment of reflection. It should be a moment of honesty. You know,
moment of reassurance.
Exactly.
To the Gambian people.
To the Gambian people
about
the judicial system of the country. And of course, this, like I said, it should be a moment of honesty for the fact that, you know, the judiciary, they should be able to tell the president what is actually happening and not what ought to happen or what should happen, but what is happening. I think there is a lot of issues in this country because oftentimes you hear people, okay, maybe the president has not been told what is really happening underground, but he needs to be told the realities underground. Okay, we lack this and this is what we've registered, but we are still facing lapses, and this is what ought to be done in order to fix the situation. I think we need that level of honesty as a country, as a people, to be able to move this country forward.
I think that's a problem in this country.
Exactly.
For some reasons, people don't want to come out openly and be honest with whoever is leading.
Exactly.
To tell the person exactly, this is how far we have gone, but these are the challenges we are facing.
Exactly.
But I mean, once you want to make the person believe that everything is okay, because all you are looking at is how to maintain your position, then that's a problem.
Big problem.
And that's something that we have seen in most of these institutions, especially in government. Like, for example, I mean, this thing has no relationship with what's happening today, but we have seen even with the OIC projects.
Exactly.
The impression that the president was given about those projects' level of implementation, and when he came to visit them, what he found were two different things.
And he was disappointed.
He was disappointed. But I think that's why it's good to be honest with the individual. Tell the person, you know what, okay, we have made these achievements, but we are still faced with these challenges.
Exactly.
At least the person will know, okay, you are so honest with him that these are the challenges you are facing. And then you can discuss among yourself as to how do you move ahead.
Exactly.
But if you want to make the person believe everything is okay,
when it's not
it is not okay, then there's a problem.
A big one. And I think that's the main reason why we are facing as a country. I mean, the president ought to be told the reality and the truth in order for him to know what is happening in the country that he is governing. But if he does not know, or he is giving something painted picture of the situation, you know, it's creating more harm than good in the country. Look at, for instance, the transportation sector in this country. A lot is going on. You know, look at just the fisheries sector. Look at the tourism sector in this country. A lot of things are going on, and of course the president ought to be told the truth. And I think this is a moment for the president to be able to know what is really happening in the judicial system of the country. In fact, they should be able to tell him how many people are remanded at mile 2, people who do not have justice.
And I think, in fact, exactly. I mean, as a president, you can just get up one day and just make a surprise visit. Don't even announce it. Or if you go on this surprise visit, talk to the junior staff. Those will tell you exactly what the problem is. But in most cases, if you just talk to those at the top, all that they see is, how do I maintain my position?
Exactly.
Hope I won't lose my position. So they wouldn't be honest enough. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them wouldn't be honest enough to tell you exactly the actual thing on the ground. And this is a problem.
It's a problem.
At the end of the day, the president also, I think that's going to help him, because what he wants to know, the president really wants to know what is actually on the ground. That's exactly what he wants to know.
Exactly.
Because that's going to guide him as to how he is going to implement his programs. But then if people just come, you have these sycophants, they come, all they want to tell you is something that's going to please your ears. They don't tell you exactly what is on the ground, then something is fundamentally wrong.
Exactly. And you will always be disappointed.
Exactly.
And that is what we have seen. Like, always disappointment for the fact that, okay, we are at this level, when actually we are at this level.
Because you make him believe, because you are given the responsibility. I mean, he entrusted you to head that department or that ministry. He expects you to be honest enough to tell him exactly what is on the ground.
Exactly.
But if that's not happening, then that's a problem.
A big one.
And that's why I always tell people, the government is just a reflection of who we are as a society.
Exactly.
It is us who are in the government. There are certain things going wrong. I mean, you might tend to blame the president, but if you as a Gambian, you are in that particular position, you should know what is in the interest of the country.
I mean, Ali, like you said, it's a reflection of us as people. From 1994 going up, or way before that, during Jawara's time, we, as a people, we're still complaining that the country is not moving in the right direction. You know, 56, 57 years on, we are still complaining about the same thing. Is it the leadership or the people?
For me, it's the people.
Exactly.
It's
I mean, we have a problem as a people. For instance, in a public place, and this is a public thing, you will not give a, like, you don't care because it's not yours, it's everybody's. Okay, it's fine, it's not mine, I only take care of what is mine. So that is the mentality we have as a country, as a people, and we are not bold enough. That is, you are a journalist, nga jël sa microphone, nga jël sa camera, nga dem. A situation is going on, maybe there is skyrocketing of prices and all that, and you want to interview a market woman, or you want to interview a vendor as to how this is affecting the president.
Today, now the president has now entered the premises. I think he is now greeting, the ushers, and they also look like staff. I mean, staff of the judiciary. I mean, you know, that's how they do it. I mean, the Asobi style in Gambia. I mean, every event has its own Asobi. Yes. So I think when you talk about event, the positive is Asobi.
Asobi syndrome.
Exactly, Asobi syndrome in this country. So that's it. I mean, the president is now waving at the audience at the Supreme Court, and that's the chief of protocol, Elijah Sise. They are, I mean, leading the president. I mean, the president is being accompanied by the Chief Justice and, of course, Jallow, the Minister of Justice, also there. I mean, with the president. The president is now about to take his seat. I mean, immediately after that, I mean, we are going to have the invocation by religious leaders. I mean, as we have on the program guide, we have the Imam Ratib of Banjul, Alaji Alu Chanomaska, and of course, a representative of the Gambia's Christian Council. So, so any moment we might link to Supreme Court, where, like I said, our former colleague Fatima Cham, now the Director of Communications and Public Relations, is going to take over from us as he moderates, I mean, these all important 2023 legal year opening by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow. But before we get, before we link with the moderator, of course, I mean the chair, of course, the MC of this event, Fatima Cham. Yes, Judah, you were just emphasizing the importance of being honest.
Exactly. As a country, we need to be honest. Trust me, Aliu, 100 years to come, we will not go anywhere if we don't really change as a people, as a country. If you don't really change our attitude, our mindset towards things, like, let us take ownership of ourselves, our country, to be able to move forward. The problem is not with the leadership. The problem is with us. Attitude has to change. Honestly, like, okay, you're appointed to a particular place and you know that you're not doing the right thing, but because you want to maintain yourself in that position, you will do all sorts of things to be able to be there. I mean, what's the point? It's like people do not value legacy in this country. Yeah. Just look at the late Vice President, Badara Aliou Diouf. When he died, what do you hear? Yeah. All over is honesty, his integrity, for the fact that Mom Dudejol nonsense, and he's a straightforward man. Who doesn't want that when you die? Of course I want that when I die.
Well, for the case of the late VP, Badara Diouf, knowing his background, where he grew up, Buduk, I mean, you will really understand, yes.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be a surprise to any one of us, for example, people like me who knows, I mean, where he grew up, Buduk, and, you know, you really understand.
Exactly.
But that's really a problem. The attitudes for me is a problem here. You see, if you are serving in a particular, for example, if you are serving at QTV, don't think, okay, you are doing certain things because you want QTV to fail, for example. I'm just taking an example. Or you are doing certain things because, okay, you want the Q group to fail. At the end of the day, if it fails, it's going to affect all of us.
Exactly.
It's the same thing with government. If you are in government, don't think, okay, perhaps, okay, because I don't align myself with the current government or the president, I don't care what happens. Or because, okay, I'm aligned with the government, you know, I can just do whatever I want, I don't care.
Exactly.
That free care attitude is a problem.
A big one. Trust me.
It's a problem in this country.
It's a big one. And, you know, we should safeguard
For me, no matter what, whether or not you support the president or his agenda, the development of this country should be everyone's interest.
Thank you.
Should be everyone's interest.
I mean, presidents come and go.
Exactly.
The country stays. And it states for everybody. Trust me, if we burn down this country, it's for our, like, we will face the consequences, because those who are not, you know, citizens of this country will eventually go to their own country, and we will stay because we don't have anywhere to go. The Gambia is ours, so we should safeguard the peace and tranquility of this country,
I think
no matter what.
That's important. And then with all these things, I mean, the one at the top, the president, should also always at all levels manifest leadership.
Exactly.
You know, you should really have that, you know, authority as a president.
Exactly.
That people will know, you know what, if I don't do what is not right, I'm going home.
Exactly. I mean, Lola, sir. It's either you do what is right or you excuse us.
I mean, because the problem is, okay, with the former president, Jammeh, with all his buts, there was something in him, authority.
Yes.
People knew there was somebody in charge.
Yeah.
So, you do your work or not.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, with all these OSC projects, with all what is happening, my friend, we know it will have been a different story.
Exactly.
But because, okay, you have a leader who is so democratic, you know, he allows people to be free to do whatever they want.
Democracy, Aliu, goes with responsibility.
Responsibility.
People ought to know that democracy
but I
is
think
not
the
just...
leadership also should be farmed. So you know what? I'm in charge. I am in charge. Exactly. And that's really important. But the way things are going, I mean, it's really worrying.
You know how to be firm is when a president does something wrong, don't look at the Kisuma Haridla. This person did a favor.
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين يا من يرى ما في الضمير ويسمه أنت المعد لكل ما يتوخخ يا من يرجى للسدائد كلها يا من إليه المشتكى والمغزه يا من هزائن الرزق في حول كن أمن فإن خير عندك أجمه ما لي سوى فخري إليك وسيلة وبالافتخار إليك فخري أكفه ما لي سوى خرخي لبابك عيلة فلئن تردت فأي باب أحره ومن الذي أتوى وأحتف باسمه إن كان فضلك عن فحير يمنه هاشا لمجدك أن تهانت آسيا الفضل أجزل والمواهب أوسه بذل خط وأفيت بابك عالما أن تزلل عند بابك ينفخ وجهلت مختمدي عليك توكلا وبسطت كافي سائلا أتدره وبحق من أحببته وبعثته أجرت دخرة به يتصفه اجعل لنا من كل ديه مخرجا والتف بنا يا من إليه المرجع ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب برحمة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أخلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amen. Thank you very much. May we now have a representative from the Gambia Christian Council to lead us in Christian prayer.
Please let us pray. Immortal God, you who is the fountain of all wisdom, all truth, and you who alone dispense true justice, we give you honor and praise, celebrating your majesty, dominion, power, and your wisdom. We thank you that you have allowed humanity to participate in seeking and knowing truth. We thank you that you have also allowed humanity to participate in dispensing justice. Today, as we gather as your people in this nation. So to celebrate the beginning of this legal year, we pray that you will minister to this nation, that this nation will know truth, this nation will know justice, and this nation will walk in the ways that will prevail even of the same. This day we pray that in our meeting today, begun, continued, and ended, you will truly be glorified. We pray in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Well, viewers, those are the prayers by a representative of the Imam-Ratib of Banjul, and of course, a representative of the Gambia Christian Council there, delivering the prayers as we mark the official opening of the 2023 legal year by the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow. This will be followed by a statement by the President of the Gambia Bar Association, Salihu Tal. Like I said, these are live images from Banjul, the capital of the Gambia, and this is QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. My name is Aliou Cisse, and I'm here with my colleague Jude Njai, and our reporter Modlamin Choi is also in Banjul together with the crew there, Abdul Cisse and Bach Sen, who are helping us get all the images that you need to see as far as this important occasion is concerned. This is an annual event, where members of the judiciary, of course, the executive, and of course the National Assembly, the Speaker is there, converge to discuss about the achievements registered by the judiciary in the...
His Excellency, President of the Republic of the Gambia, Honorable Chief Justice, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, members of Cabinet present, judges of the Superior Courts, magistrates, and Qadis, members of the legal profession, my learned friends, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, our invited guests from the United Kingdom and the United States of America, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. All protocols respectfully observed. It is indeed a great honor and privilege to the entire bar and my humble self to deliver a statement marking the official opening of the 2023 legal year. The ceremonial opening of the legal year is a tradition that is deeply rooted in history. And I am pleased to deliver the first statement as the President of the Bar. This is a long-standing tradition and a recognition given to the Bar as a key stakeholder in the legal sector. Today, we are gathered here to celebrate the formal opening of the 2023 legal year. I will not bore you with the history and the genesis of the legal year this time around. I believe the newly appointed Director of Communications has given you a background to this tradition. Suffice to say that the celebration of the legal year is an opportunity for the primary actors in the legal sector, namely the private bar, the state law bar, as some will call the public bar, that is the Minister of Justice, and the judiciary, to take stock, review, and share their perspectives on the issues that impact on the administration of justice and the rule of law. While it is important to highlight and acknowledge the positive strides made in the sector, indeed there are many, it is also important to highlight the challenges and shortcomings in the sector with a view to chart a way forward to achieve our common objective of strengthening the rule of law and enhancing access to justice in an effective and efficient manner. From 2017 to date, the demand for justice and accountability through the courts has increased exponentially. I dare say that this is in part due to the public's increased expectation of the impartiality and independence of the judiciary following the 2017 democratic transition. It is fair to say that from 2017 to date, the judiciary has delivered landmark judgments, which, amongst other things, has reiterated the supremacy of the Constitution, the limits of legislative authority, the limits of executive power, the enforcement of fundamental rights, and the limits of constitutional immunity, to name a few examples. These judgments, rulings, and dicta from our courts in many ways play a huge role in defining the contours of our nascent democracy, and importantly, help enhance the respect for the rule of law in this country. Whilst we acknowledge the positive strides made by the judiciary and the sector in general, it is important to highlight some of the challenges faced in the administration of justice by litigants in the jurisdiction. As I have mentioned in my previous statements before this August, on this August occasion previously, the road to justice is still a pipe dream for the average litigant in the country, and a long one for that matter. We still experience delays and backlogs in the system. High-profile cases tend to get expedited hearings, and are concluded in a relatively shorter period. However, the majority of cases, both civil and criminal, take an inordinate amount of time to be concluded in this jurisdiction. The delays in the conclusion of cases is even more problematic in criminal matters, especially in relation to accused persons charged with non-bailable offenses or indigent accused persons unable to fulfill bail conditions, particularly when they have no means. This further aggravates the perennial problem of backlogs in our courts. As stakeholders, the bar, the Ministry of Justice, and the police all have a role to play in resolving these challenges and problems. Indeed, we do have a collective responsibility to do more in this regard, to help expedite the delivery of justice effectively and efficiently, particularly in relation to persons without means. The continued investment in human and physical infrastructure will certainly improve the delivery of justice. To this end, the bar welcomes the judiciary's expansion of the courts and its recruitment drive. We also call on the state, that is the executive and the legislature, to allocate more resources to support the judiciary. Spending in the judiciary is an investment, it's not an expense. An effective judiciary is so critical and vital. It behoves all of us, all arms of government, to ensure that the judiciary is adequately funded. Another challenge faced by litigants in this jurisdiction is the long delays and difficulties and challenges faced in the enforcement of judgments. The enforcement of judgments, particularly in land matters, is fraught with serious challenges and difficulties in the Gambia. It is not unusual for litigants to have judgments and are yet unable to enforce their judgments over a number of years, despite the exhaustion of all appeals and not. The current state of affairs with regards to the enforcement of judgments is really deplorable and needs urgent attention. Non-enforceability or undue delays in the enforcement of judgments seriously undermines confidence in the judicial processes. We are pleased to know and learn that the judiciary is cognizant of some of the challenges I highlighted and has plans to address the same. The bar, as a key stakeholder, looks forward to working closely with the judiciary and other partners and the state in its quest to review the rules of court and other judicial acts to help ease the bottlenecks in the court system. In this regard, we look forward to participating at the workshop organized by the judiciary as part of this year's legal year celebration to look at proposals to amend the High Court and subordinate court rules. The glass is half full, but half empty. The judiciary is on course in line with its strategic plan in terms of digitizing the court system. The bar indeed welcomes the piloting of computer-aided transcription system in the courts. As you may know, in the Gambia, judges have to write proceedings by hand, and this is really not acceptable in this day and age, and cause a lot of delays. So we welcome the piloting of a CAT system within the High Court, within 2 High Courts, I believe. I'm happy to learn of the judiciary's plan to roll out the system across the superior and subordinate courts. This will greatly impact and enhance the efficiency of the court. We're also aware of plans to introduce a case management system. I believe the Honorable Chief Justice will share these details in his statement. The judiciary of the Gambia today is evolving and growing to meet the demands and expectations of the public. We acknowledge and commend the Chief Justice and his team for his robust recruitment drive, which saw the appointment and elevation of a number of judicial officers, both in the subordinate and superior courts. We particularly welcome the appointment and elevation of women within the judiciary at all levels. The judiciary is a leader and has done well in terms of ensuring the representation of women at all levels. I hope other institutions will take cue from the judiciary in this regard. In the last year, the judiciary and the legal sector as a whole has come under enormous scrutiny and attention for many reasons. Lately, the public's confidence in the administration of justice has suffered a setback due to highly publicized cases which expose the slow grind of our justice delivery system, amongst other challenges. We believe that the judiciary and the bar should and can do more to improve the administration of justice, to enhance the public's confidence in the legal sector. While some of the criticism might be unwarranted and misplaced, it is my candid view that we can do better. We live in the era of accountability, and all institutions have to be accountable. Just like we hold others accountable, we should be accountable. It is my view that we must do better in educating and engaging the public to ensure they have a better understanding of how the courts work, the role of the bar, of the bench, our challenges, amongst other things. To this end, the bar is committed to work with the judiciary and the Minister of Justice and other stakeholders to help educate the public on germane legal matters. I believe this will help increase confidence in the work we do. I'm happy to note that the judiciary is on the move. The judiciary now has a Twitter account. And as you would have observed, the judiciary has hired a director of communication. Back in the days, it was okay to stay in your corner, but in today's age, we have to be proactive. The public has a right to know what is happening. And I think all of us should engage more to avoid being misunderstood or misrepresented. If we don't tell our stories, others will tell it for us with their own narratives. I commend the use of technology particularly social media, as a modern and effective communication tool in this digital age. Today is 4th January 2023. We still have the same 1997 Constitution. We still have the same criminal code. We still have the same Public Order Act. We still have the same election decrees. We still have the same draconian practice directions from the Jammeh era. The legal order of the previous dictatorial regime is still intact and yet to be supplanted after 6 years of our transition from a dictatorship. The Gambia, we decided, is yet to be realized. It is really disheartening and, I must say, unacceptable to maintain the arsenal of draconian laws from the Jammeh era in our books under our current dispensation. As a rule of law institution, the bar is calling for the introduction of a new constitution to replace the 1997 constitution. We're calling for the repeal of all repugnant and undemocratic laws that don't conform to international human rights norms and values. We really cannot speak of the rule of law if we continue to rely on a body of laws that were really designed to perpetuate a dictatorship. In conclusion, the bar commends the Ministry of Justice under the dynamic leadership of Honorable Jallow, and by extension, the government of President Adama Barrow for their commitment to establish a hybrid/international domestic court mechanism in partnership with ECOWAS to try those who bear the greatest responsibilities for the gross human rights violations and abuses committed during the 22 years of the former regime. We're happy to note that the Honorable AG, representing the executive, has already engaged the ECOWAS Commission to take steps towards the establishment of this court. This is a testament of the government's commitment to ensure the proper prosecution of perpetrators who committed crimes against Gambians and non-Gambians, both under domestic and international law. We have a duty to ensure we see this through. Today, as a country, we are a champion. We are championing the rights of victims of Myanmar. Charity begins at home. The bar will continue to support and complement the efforts of the government in the implementation of the TRRC recommendations, particularly in the area of criminal accountability. As I mentioned earlier, The Gambia has really made a name globally. I mean, I was opportunity to be invited by the council, Bar Council of the UK, as the keynote speaker on the topic of our transitional justice. The world is watching us. The world wants to hear our story. We are a beacon of hope in the transitional justice space. Our TJ process, which has completed the truth-seeking phase, is globally acclaimed as being very successful and has actually raised the bar, globally speaking. It was a process that enjoyed the support of the government at all levels. It was a process that was transparent from its constitution, its deliberation, and its completion. It was a process that was transparent, inclusive, and participatory. Now that we've done with the truth-seeking, and the government has issued a white paper, it is imperative to ensure that, amongst other things, there's justice and accountability for the atrocities committed against Gambians and other West Africans. For without justice, reconciliation would be a tall order. There cannot be a meaningful truth-seeking process. There cannot be meaningful reconciliation. There cannot be meaningful healing in the absence of addressing impunity and the question of accountability. We must make sure that never again, it's not just a hashtag or a slogan, but it's a reality for generations of Gambians to come. It is important to ensure that the implementation of the white paper transcends partisan politics. I qualified partisan politics because everything is political. So obviously, we require parliament, and that is a political process, but we must look at this with lenses of red, white, blue, white, green. The quest for justice and accountability must be recognized as an integral part of our country's future, to ensure we really come to terms and have closure with our brutal past and all its effects, and say no to impunity once and for all. In this regard, I call on Your Excellency, President Adama Barrow, to personally champion the implementation of the white paper recommendation to ensure that we have genuine reconciliation and accountability. Your Excellency, in December 2016, we turned to a new chapter when we decided to put out dictatorship and tyranny under your leadership, under your courageous leadership. The last leg of the journey is to ensure that Gambians will never again be subjected to brutality and abuse by anyone or system. This we owe to generations of Gambians to come. I thank you all. for the Gambia, our homeland.
Well, viewers, that's the president of the Gambia Bar Association, Salou Tal. They are delivering a quite powerful statement as the president of the Gambia Bar Association. As you have heard from him, I mean, he has emphasized, I mean, the need for the implementation of the recommendations of the TRRC, emphasizing that there can't be reconciliation without justice. Tal also went further to talk about the issue of, I mean, changing some of the draconian laws in our constitution. He talked about having the same constitution, the same criminal code, the same public order act. I mean, for him, the reason why Gambians, voted in 2016 to change the government has not been fully achieved, according to him. And now we are having the Minister of Justice, Jallow, addressing the audience.
Of the Armed Forces, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, my Lord Honorable Chief Justice of the Gambia, Justices of the Superior Court, colleague Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, the National Security Advisor and the service chiefs represented here by the Army Commander, Deputy Inspector General of Police and others, the permanent secretaries and heads of government agencies here present, of course, led by the Secretary General, head of the Civil Service, learned magistrates, cadis, members of district tribunals, members of the General Legal Council, and the Judicial Service Commission, the President of the Gambia Bar Association, and members of the Bar, the Legal Year Organizing Committee, the staff of the Judiciary, and the staff of the Ministry of Justice, led by the Solicitor General and Legal Secretary, the special guest of the Judiciary from the United States and the United Kingdom here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just to build on the introduction of the President of the Bar, for those who may not know, the legal year is a term we use to refer to the time period during which the courts are in session and are available to hear and decide cases. In many common law jurisdictions, including the Gambia, the legal year typically begins in October, and it is an age-old tradition to mark this by special ceremonies and events, including the beautiful procession of the bench and the bar into the court complex that you witnessed a little while ago. It is therefore an honor for me to address this gathering on this auspicious occasion, which signifies the efforts of the judiciary in enhancing the administration of justice in the Gambia during the previous year and encourages a reflection on the way forward for a better legal system in the Gambia. The Attorney General's Chambers and Ministry of Justice has over the years been providing indispensable legal services in promoting and protecting the rule of law, justice delivery, and good governance in the Gambia. As a ministry and a criminal justice sector actor, we understand our obligation in promoting and protecting human and people's rights in all legal actions, and we continue to put in efforts to ensure that criminal cases under our purview are properly managed, handled, and prosecuted to guarantee undue delay in the prosecution of cases. To achieve success in the timely execution of our various mandates this year, we have appointed 12 young and energetic state counsel to secure an adequate number of staff in handling cases at both the civil and criminal divisions of the ministry. We intend to decentralize our legal services by designating some of the state counsel to different courts created in other regions by the Judiciary of the Gambia. This will help in providing a speedy and accessible justice delivery services that is responsive to the needs of the general public. We have also appointed a Deputy Director of Public Prosecution which will encourage more coordination of criminal cases handled at the criminal division. We will intensify our efforts in getting a director of public prosecution soon. We plan to digitalize the record system for the proper inflow, retrieval, and disposal of cases. This will be significant in the process of establishing an efficient case management system. In the continuation of our activities on the implementation process of the Gambia Intellectual Property Policy Strategy 2018-2023, the Ministry has established a National Intellectual Property Council comprising the National Center for Arts and Culture, Judiciary of the Gambia, Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Gambia Technical Training Institute, among others. We have a new intellectual property office in place, and the Intellectual Property Bill 2021 has been gazetted and ready to be tabled before the National Assembly in due course. Another recent development in regards to the improvement of our intellectual property system is the collaboration with the Africa Regional Intellectual Property Office, ARIPO, on a sensitization workshop on the ARIPO e-service platform with IP attorneys and IP agents in the Gambia. Our IP staff had the opportunity to be trained on ARIPO applications using member state module and build their capacity in processing ARIPO applications. This is geared towards the development of intellectual property in the Gambia, which will encourage invention and a high level of creativity, especially by our youthful population, as well as generate revenue for the government. Your Excellency, my lords, my ladies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, there is also an ongoing ratification process of 5 prominent copyright and related rights treaties, which is at an advanced stage that Cabinet has approved the process. The Gambia continues to take leadership positions at ARIPO, and we were successfully elected as chair of the IP Technical Committee. With respect to the deeds registry, we intend to link the archives in the system so as to have a complete record of all the registered deeds taken since inception of the deeds registry. With the support of the World Bank, we also plan to digitalize the system to enhance transparency and efficiency. The Department of Curator of Intestate Estate is also striving in its mandate to administer estates of deceased persons. In 2022, the department opened 426 beneficiary files and successfully closed 225 files. Efforts are being made to digitalize the filing system of the department to increase its efficiency, productivity, and ensure beneficiary satisfaction. Moreover, there have been major developments at the company's registry, which houses the single window business registration. Part of what we embarked upon in 2022 was the extension project to cater for a proper store for filing of the documents, of the documentation. This project, when completed, will enable the office to effectively keep records and conduct searches on registration of businesses, partnerships, and associations. In addition to the said extension project, we have secured office spaces in Basse and Brikama, respectively. The move to extend our services to the doorstep, so the move to extend to Brikama and Basse is in line with our policy to bring business registration services to the doorsteps of all Gambians as envisaged in the Companies Act of 2013 and the Single Window Business Registration Act of same year. We also have plans to upgrade the e-registry platform to cater for other filings which are provided for in the law but could not be done because the system that was installed in 2014 was not adaptable. The upgrade, when completed, will cater for online registration as provided for in the Single Window Business Registration Act and will facilitate easier business registration. It is part of our plans to embark on sensitization campaign with respect to registration of businesses, as awareness is still on the low end regarding procedural steps of registering businesses in the Gambia. Your Excellency, my lords, my ladies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, you may all recall that in May 2022, the government, through the Attorney General's Chambers and Ministry of Justice, successfully published the white paper on the TRRC report. The Attorney General's Chambers and Ministry of Justice understands the concerns of the public in terms of implementation of the government white paper. However, it is for the greater good of this country that we address the atrocities that happened in the past tactfully. I affirm that my ministry has made significant progress for the effective implementation of the government white paper and in ensuring that the rule of law prevails. In December 2022, we successfully launched the multi-stakeholder monitoring committee on the implementation of the TRRC recommendations together with the National Human Rights Commission, UN Gambia partners, and civil society organizations. Steps are also being taken to develop and design our own accountability mechanisms, which will focus on greatly encouraging the participation of victims in seeking justice and accountability. Since the publication of the white paper, government is currently in the process of preparing its implementation plan, which will be launched during the fourth quarter of this year, in the form of an international stakeholder donor conference. In the interim, the government has finalized consultations and has drafted the Victims' Reparation Bill to create an independent body that will continue to administer reparations for victims. The government is similarly in the process of setting up an interim medical board to review and provide emergency medical care for victims of human rights violations, particularly the victims of April 10 and 11. In the area of accountability and justice, the government is currently working with ECOWAS towards setting up a hybrid court for prosecutions, while awaiting the launching of the implementation plan to guide the overall implementation process. The Ministry of Justice is actively implementing the white paper, especially recommendations that do not require significant financial resources to be implemented. It is commendable to note that the ministry is playing a key role in the prosecution of some of the junglers in the United States of America, Switzerland, and Germany for human rights violations they committed during the Jammeh regime, details of which were discovered by the TRRC findings. The ministry has been relentlessly assisting in the prosecution of these junglers in the stated countries by providing information of witnesses, evidence, and we have expressed our commitment to provide further support in the successful prosecution of the said junglers. It is important to highlight that we may be geographically small as a country, but the fact remains that we stand tall in the international community when it comes to promotion and protection of human rights. An example can be seen in the case of Gambia versus Myanmar, in which Gambia filed a case against Myanmar in 2020 at the International Court of Justice to prevent further acts of genocide against the Rohingya in Myanmar. Recently, the ICJ totally rejected Myanmar's preliminary objection to the court's jurisdiction and affirmed the Gambia's right as a state party to the Genocide Convention to hold Myanmar to account to its obligations under the convention. This means that the case will proceed to its full merits, and the Gambia continues to show its commitment to proceed with the case. In Geneva, the Gambia continues to play an active role in all the deliberations of the UN Human Rights Council as one of the 13 sitting member states from Africa. This is the forum where all matters relating to the promotion and protection of human rights around the globe are discussed. To this end, I have posted a senior state counsel to Geneva to enhance the capacity of our Geneva mission in discharging our mandate to the UN Human Rights Commission or Council. Therefore, On behalf of His Excellency the President, I hereby reaffirm this government's position to be at the forefront of defending the fundamental rights of people and fulfill our obligations under international human rights law. The ministry has also shown great concern with respect to victims of crimes, especially women and children, who are mostly vulnerable in cases of sexual and gender-based violence. In this same vein, the SGBV and child protection units were created at the ministry to support victims and promote their empowerment during prosecution cases. In 2022, the SGBV unit of the Ministry of Justice, through the support of the United Nations Development Programme, embarked on a sensitization tour in Janjambure in the CRR and Passe in the URR. Unit was able to bring a total number of 200 people together from the communities. The participants include village elders, youth groups, men and women of the community. The discussions focused on the rise of SGBV cases and how we can collectively contribute towards the fight. The unit took the opportunity to enlighten the participants on the legislations in place, as well as the cultural misconceptions on SGBV, and encourage the reporting of SGBV cases in a timely manner. The participants were also engaged on the importance of preserving evidence in order to attain a conviction against perpetrators. This year, the SGBV unit intends to initiate a radio program and conduct school outreach programs geared towards educating the masses on sexual and gender-based violence. Our goal is to be well capacitated to provide structured safe haven for victims and have our own professional psychotherapists who will be crucial in providing psychosocial support to the victims during witness conferencing sessions and witness testimonies in court. Other agencies under the ministry, such as the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons, National Agency for Legal Aid, and the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat, continue to perform their respective mandates as legal sector actors. NATIB continues to improve in investigations of suspected and reported cases of trafficking in persons and other organized crimes. I'm happy to inform this gathering that in 2022, the Gambia has been upgraded to Tier 2 from its previous Tier 2 watch list status. Like other forms of transnational organized crimes, trafficking in person is not only a lucrative industry, but it is also a complex and constantly evolving phenomenon, which has become even more complex and challenging to detect as criminals increasingly adapt and modify new ways to exploit victims. Government is committed to work with partners to study and examine the driving factors that provide the incentive for this menacing practice to flourish and strive. His Excellency, the President, has recently appointed a new chairperson of the Board of Directors of NATIB. And even more recently, the President has just appointed a new Executive Director for NATIB, while the current office holder will be redeployed. At this juncture, I must pause to thank the outgoing Executive Director for her long dedicated service to the agency. But I must also thank the Honorable Chief Justice for allowing us this time around to go anti-clockwise, to tap from the judiciary. By this I mean the new Executive Director of the agency was poached from the judiciary. With a new board chairman and a new executive director, it is our strong belief that NATIB will build on the momentum in our fight against trafficking in persons by making all efforts towards ensuring that the Gambia is ranked Tier 1. This government has a zero tolerance for trafficking in persons, and let me be clear about this once more. All those individuals who are involved in any form of trafficking in persons must entertain no doubt that the law will catch up with them sooner or later. We are coming after you, and you will be apprehended, prosecuted, and punished for your egregious crimes. The only way you can avoid this is to quit and dismantle all your criminal syndicates. The Gambia Agency for Legal Aid, NALA, has been relentlessly providing legal representation to accused persons who are charged with capital offenses and could not afford a lawyer, as well as child offenders. In 2022, NALA appointed lawyers to enhance capacity in providing efficient legal services. In the recent past, government, through my ministry, has provided NALA with 3 vehicles, 1 brand new and 2 used vehicles, strong vehicles, to boost their dilapidated fleet. We hope this will go a long way in supporting NALA to discharge their mandate to the needy members of our community. Access to justice, to free and fair trial within a reasonable time is a constitutional right, and the right to legal representation is a critical part of this equation. The Alternative Dispute Resolution Act of 2005 establishes the Alternative Dispute Resolution Secretariat in the Gambia in conformity with international rules of arbitration, conciliation, and mediation. The ADRS has a very important function in providing alternative to the adversarial court system. The overall objective is to facilitate access to justice in a speedy, efficient, and in a more conciliatory environment. The ADRS has, in the recent past, suffered from lack of stable leadership, but I am pleased to report that we have managed to surmount that challenge now with the recent appointment of a new substantive executive secretary who assumed office last month. As we count on her to quickly turn around things, it is in this very important agency, we wish her every success in her new assignment. The 2 commissions under the ministry that we are committed to give tremendous support during the course of this legal year are the Law Reform Commission and the National Council for Law Reporting. The former will be capacitated to take a lead role in our ambitious legislative reform agenda, while the latter will be supported not only to bring up to date the huge backlog of unreported case law, but also to go digital and make our stare decisions more accessible and user-friendly. This will enable the Council to also raise the much-needed revenue to continue to discharge its mandate. We thank the entire UN system, the ECOWAS, the European Union, USAID, and our bilateral partners for their continued support to the legal and justice sectors in general, and in particular to their support to the transitional justice program of the country. We hope that the mutual relationship we have built over the years remains strong. I extend special thanks to the President of the Gambia Bar Association, and through him, the entire membership of the Bar, for their continued support and cooperation. I also thank the Honorable Chief Justice, and through him, the entire Judiciary, from the judges of the superior courts to cadis, master and serif, magistrates, district tribunal members, and all categories of support staffs of the Judiciary. Your Excellency, Honorable Chief Justice, I cannot conclude without specifically thanking my team, led by the Solicitor General and Legal Secretary, Mr. Hussein Tomasi. The professional staff of the Ministry of Justice are phenomenal. With all the constraints that the ministry is facing or continue to face, this army of lawyers are busy round the clock to provide all manner of legal services to the entire government machinery. This ranges from the prosecution of serious criminal offenses to representation in all manner of civil claims for or against the government within and outside of the country, review of complex government contracts and bilateral agreements, drafting of all bills to be tabled before the National Assembly, registration of companies and businesses, and the enforcement of company law, managing and administering the estates of deceased persons, as well as managing and maintaining the deeds, marriages, and intellectual property registries, respectively. However, the professional staff couldn't also have done it all by themselves without the support of the administrative and support staff. To everyone who works at the Ministry of Justice, I say to you, thank you. You have made my job a lot easier. The final word of gratitude goes to the President of the Republic, whose vision and deliberate policy for justice and legal sector reform paved the way for all this to happen. Your Excellency, we thank you, but we also encourage you in telling you that you are on the right path in placing rule of law above rule by man. And this nation will remember you for restoring rule of law. In conclusion, to sum it all up, we wish to reaffirm our commitment as a ministry to continue to work with key stakeholders, such as the Judiciary of the Gambia and the Gambia Bar Association, in providing access to justice and always defending the rule of law and respect for human rights. Thank you all for your kind attention, and I wish you all a successful legal year.
Well, viewers, that's the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Jallow, there delivering his statement. As you have heard from the Attorney General, he spoke at length, of course, emphasizing on certain areas such as the government's commitment to the protection and promotion of fundamental human rights. I mean, he also talked about, his ministry's determination to, to decentralize, its services. He just said, they have appointed 12 young and capable state councils. And now, let's now take a listen. The Chief Justice, Hassan B. Jallow, is now about to address the ceremony. Let's take a listen.
The Republic of the Gambia, Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Judges of the Superior Courts, Honorable Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and Ministers, Your Worships, Magistrates, and Cadis, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the Judicial Service Commission, President of the Gambia Bar, and members of the Bar, Director General Gambia Law School, regional governors, presidents of the district tribunals, and your staff, venerable religious leaders, members of staff of the Judiciary and of the Attorney General's chambers, distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, and all our distinguished guests, on behalf of the Judiciary and on my own personal behalf, and on behalf indeed of the entire legal profession, to this ceremony marking the opening of the 2023 legal year. I wish to recognize especially the presence of the team from the UK Judicial College and the Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association, a representative of the American Bar Association, which has been the executing arm of our projects with the USAID, the independent team of legal experts from the United States, led by the Honorable Judge David Campbell, as well as the representatives of the UNDP and the UNICEF, who have been among some of our closest collaborators over the past year, collaborators in our journey to improve the quality of justice delivery in the Gambia. We are indeed all very grateful for your presence here with us today. The opening of the legal year continues to be an occasion for stock-taking of the performance of the machinery of justice, the challenges we face, and an occasion also for reflection on how to resolve those challenges. It will not be different this year. Today's ceremony will therefore be followed by a number of other activities during the week, amongst them the recall to the Gambia Bar tomorrow morning of 72 students, of whom 34 are Gambians, students who have completed successfully the vocational stage of their training as lawyers, as legal practitioners, and who are now poised to embark on their pupillage of practical service before they are registered as legal practitioners. We will have also a two-day workshop to review the rules of procedure and practice of the High Court as well as the subordinate courts, funded by the USAID, as part of the project to make the process of the courts more efficient, more user-friendly, and better geared towards the speedy hearing and determination of cases. A workshop on effective case management will be facilitated by the Honorable Judge Campbell and his team from the USA, which is designed to enhance the skills of judicial officers, judges, magistrates, cadis, as well as of lawyers in the management of cases from their respective positions. The Judicial College will continue to assist us on the sentencing issues, providing some training for magistrates on the use of the sentencing guidelines, as well as on the management of vulnerable witnesses, together with a forum on business and human rights for judges. The district tribunal members and their scribes will not be left behind. There will be a training workshop as well for them on Monday afternoon. This training program for the tribunals will just be a beginning. It will kickstart a countrywide program of training, which will henceforth be conducted on a regional basis from region to region, so that we can have many, many more participants at each session than we have now. Infrastructural developments within the judiciary will be reflected in the program through the handing over by the respective local authorities of sites in Brikama Western Region and in Kerewan, the North Bank Region, which are earmarked under the strategic plan for the construction of major court complexes. But the principal highlight, which we all look forward to, will be the launching, the inauguration of the newly completed court complex in Bundung on Thursday. It is expected to be able to accommodate high court judges, magistrates courts, as well as Kadi courts. So we look forward to a very busy and productive week following today's ceremony. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, the mission of the judiciary, of course, remains constant. That is to ensure a fair, impartial, and timely delivery of quality justice by a competent, motivated, and committed institution and its staff. So does its core activity, that also remains constant, and that core activity is to adjudicate on disputes, to hear and determine cases fairly and expeditiously without unreasonable delay. But the size of the workload of this core activity is constantly on the rise. Last year, in the year 2022, a total number of 11,568 cases were filed in all the courts in the country, starting from the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, going down up to the district tribunals. This represents a significant increase of 30% over the previous year of 2021. That's a very, very huge increase in the number of cases. It may be a mark of confidence, perhaps in the judiciary, but it also is an indication that perhaps we need to look at other measures, explore other measures at dispute resolution. In 2022, of the 11,568 cases which were filed, the courts were able to dispose of a total of 6,800, and this represents 58% of the workload, and an increase of close to 2,000, that is 1,978 cases, over the number of cases concluded in the previous year, 2021. So the workload has increased by 30% from 2021 to 2022. But at the same time, the rate of disposal by the courts has increased by close to 2,000 cases from 2021 to 2022. I would like to congratulate all the judicial officers and their staff for this commendable achievement under challenging conditions, as well as the members of the bar and indeed litigants and witnesses who have contributed to this remarkable achievement. We have observed, however, Your Excellency and distinguished guests, that the majority of the case workload of the courts, especially of the superior courts and sometimes of the subordinate ones, particularly district tribunal level, relates to civil matters, and a significant portion of them are land disputes from the West Coast region. Some of the land disputes involve communities, some emanate from the alleged activities of estate agents. Land is undoubtedly a very precious and scarce resource everywhere, but especially in this very little Gambia. Unresolved disputes, land disputes, can have an impact on communal peace and stability. Speedy resolution of land disputes is thus very essential, as is the speedy resolution of commercial disputes for the economy. Hence the need for the state to establish and maintain a well-resourced land and commercial disputes court as envisaged by the Judiciary Strategic Plan. This should be accompanied, in our view, by a review and reform of the legal sector relating to land to provide for a more efficient and more effective system of land administration. Of particular concern are the activities of some estate agents, with many litigants being alleged victims of their actions. The estate agency sector, which is represented in the workload of the courts in a significant way, remains unregulated. There is therefore an urgent need for enactment of laws which regulate the activities of estate agents, including their registration, their qualification, their supervision, and their discipline. In my address at the opening of the legal year last year, I expressed concern at the growing list of cases before the courts and the apparent lack or failure of efforts by parties, indeed by legal practitioners, parties to civil disputes and their legal practitioners, to settle out of court before or even during litigation. Litigation in civil matters should be a last resort. The courts should only be called upon to settle civil disputes which the parties are unable to resolve. Serious efforts at out-of-court settlement should be deployed by parties and by their legal practitioners to a dispute. This does not appear to be the case in many matters that are currently before the courts. And this may well explain why there's a 30% increase in the number of cases filed from 2021 to 2022. Accordingly, the Rules Committee, presided over by the Chief Justice and comprising, including the Attorney General and the President of the Gambia Bar Association, has adopted an amendment to the rules of the High Court, which now makes such efforts at out-of-court settlement mandatory and a condition precedent to the hearing of any civil matter. Any party instituting civil proceedings is required, therefore, to provide certification of such efforts and their outcome to the court. The amendment to the rules will be published shortly and will come into force. And in order to strengthen the court-connected ADR system, the USAID through the American Bar Association, as well as through the Weinstein Foundation based in California in the USA, will be providing training for a corps of mediators, arbitrators, and conciliators to support the efforts at out-of-court settlement. We are indeed grateful for their assistance. I wish to appeal to all counsel and to would-be litigants, and indeed litigants, to heed these new rules and to comply with them. It will save them. Indeed, it will save all of us much time and resources. And this is time and resources which can best be devoted to necessary, unavoidable litigation. We note, and indeed we share, the public concern at delays and the demand for the speedy disposal of cases. Every litigant is entitled, under the Constitution, to have his or her case heard and determined within a reasonable time. What is reasonable, of course, is relative and dependent on various factors and circumstances, including the nature of the workload and the resources, human and material, and the facilities that are available to the courts. Some delay is inherent in the system of justice, and it is often necessitated by due process and fairness requirements, such as the right to fair hearing for all the parties in a case. But I have constantly stressed to all judicial officers, indeed to all members of the bar, as I do now again, that avoidable delays should not be condoned. The overriding goal of every court, of every legal practitioner, must be to avoid these delays and to ensure that cases are heard and determined within a reasonable time. For judicial officers, this simply requires punctuality and diligence. Be at work and be there on time. And when you are at work, be at work. Avoid unnecessarily and prolonged adjournments of cases, despite the many requests of counsel. Deliver judgment when the case is still fresh in your mind. Be guided by the 3 months target between adjournment and delivery of judgment set by the Constitution as your objective. Above all, demonstrate the highest standards of honesty, of integrity, and fairness in your work. Combating avoidable delay in the courts is not, however, the responsibility of only judges and magistrates. All who participate in the process, in the judicial process, have a duty to do so, be they lawyers, litigants, or their witnesses. And I continue to implore all concerned to live up to their obligations in this regard, and with regard to upholding the integrity of the judicial process. We will not relent in the enforcement of the ethical standards which have been set out in the Code of Conduct for judicial officers and in the Code of Conduct for legal practitioners as well. The efficient management of criminal cases continues to be our major objective, particularly those of accused who are in pre-trial detention or on remand. The practice which was instituted of setting aside specific periods of the year for all the courts to focus on the criminal cases continued in 2022 with the holding of 2 such special sessions. That practice will continue as it has proved useful in dealing with these cases. I propose to supplement that practice with 2 additional measures to be promulgated in practice directions to be issued by the Chief Justice pursuant to Section 143 of the Constitution shortly. Following consultations with relevant stakeholders, I will shortly be setting up a Judiciary Prisons Visiting Committee, which will be mandated to visit and audit the remand wings of the prisons and also cases of prisoners on appeal every 6 months, and to report to the Chief Justice on instances of prolonged detention and recommend remedial measures accordingly. The audit will assist in ensuring that accused persons do not linger in prolonged custody without being brought to court. I will also be issuing a practice direction to judges and magistrates, requesting them to consider and decide on granting bail or discharging the accused person where the prosecution has failed to proceed diligently with a case 90 days after the institution of proceedings. This is intended to encourage prosecuting authorities to proceed more expeditiously and more diligently with the cases of those who are charged and remanded into prison custody. Your Excellency and distinguished guests, the objectives and goals set out by the Judiciary 5-year strategic plan, which Your Excellency launched 2 years ago, continue to guide the development of the judiciary. Securing a conducive work environment through appropriate physical infrastructure, development of adequate human resources to deliver justice and to manage the judiciary, review and reform of rules of procedure and practice to ensure that they are best suited to delivering quality and timely justice, harnessing modern technology to enhance efficiency, enhancing access to justice for all countrywide. In this respect, the past year has witnessed the renovation and rehabilitation of existing court structures countrywide, including at Basse, in Bansang, Mansakonko, Brikama, Kanifing. The completion of the new law courts building commenced in Bundung 2 years ago will provide additional courtroom space for high courts, magistrates courts, and Kadi courts. Entirely funded by the Gambia government, it is a very significant contribution to the implementation of the strategic plan, and I'm pleased to convey our appreciation and congratulations to His Excellency the President and his government for this achievement. It is indeed the only major significant investment in the infrastructure of the courts since this complex where we are today was inaugurated by His Excellency the then President Sadauda Kairawa Jawara in 1992. Since then, until now, we hadn't had any significant investment. The demand for more space in the judiciary nonetheless remains. More courtrooms, more office space, and specialized buildings for securing the archives and court exhibits, including a court complex for Brikama in the Western region, which is our largest court jurisdiction. Discussions are currently ongoing with a potential donor for financing those projects. We are indeed very, very optimistic that this new legal year 23 will see the commencement of some major infrastructural projects for the judiciary to meet some of these foregoing needs. Your Excellency and distinguished guests, the capacity of the judiciary's human resources continues to be strengthened through recruitment and training. The recent recruitment of a project coordinator and a monitoring and evaluation officer is expected to assist the judiciary in the execution of its strategic plan and also of other projects. The finance department would also benefit from the recent recruitment of a principal accountant as well as of several other accounts officers. The bench of the Gambia Court of Appeal now has a full complement of Gambian judges with the recent appointments by His Excellency the President of the Honorable Justice Veronique Wright, the Honorable Justice Senabu Wada Sise as Justice of Appeal on the recommendations of the Judicial Service Commission. The High Court has likewise been provided with additional capacity with the elevation of the former Judicial Secretary, the Honorable Justice Jallow, to his bench. I once more congratulate all their leaderships in their well-merited appointments and wish them successful tenure in judicial office. I also thank His Excellency the President for making these significant appointments to the bench of the Superior Courts. The recent appointment of a Director of Communications, and we have felt her presence here today already, in the person of Fatoumata Cham, will we expect enhance the judiciary's outreach and public relations, as well as public awareness of the activities of this arm of the state. Already, the draft judiciary communications strategy is currently under review for adoption. The Deputy Judicial Secretary Legal, Mr. Lamin George, is in the meantime holding the fort as overseeing Judicial Secretary, while the recruitment process for a new Judicial Secretary is in progress. We hope very shortly that that will be concluded. The Chief Magistrate and Acting Master, Mr. Omar Cham, has been confirmed by the Judicial Service Commission as the new Master. Our congratulations and best wishes to all of them for their well-deserved promotions. Sadly, in the course of the year, we lost two of our staff who transitioned beyond this world. His Worship Seini Biram Diouf, who was until recently the resident magistrate for the URR and CRR, passed away after several years of distinguished service, first in the Gambia Police Force and then in the judiciary. We also lost Fatu Samura, a dedicated staff member, cleaner. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them al-ajana and to all believers. Our condolences once more to the loved ones that they left behind. A significant number of training activities have been undertaken and delivered locally by the Judicial Training Institute under the direction of the Honorable Justice Awaba, who will now be assisted with a newly recruited program officer, and we expect that this will assist the institution in designing and implementing its programs. Amongst the programs delivered in the past year has been the preparatory training for magistrates and legal researchers for the High Court bench. That program was instituted because we felt it is necessary to prepare members of the subordinate bench for possible service on the superior bench. Until now, we used to send them over to other jurisdictions to attend induction programs. We have now developed our own in-house induction program with the assistance of so many experienced judges we have on the superior bench. We've had training also in sentencing, in cybercrime, in case management, training for other staff, drivers and other staff, a retreat for unit heads. Staff, including judges and magistrates, also benefited from overseas training on human trafficking, on anti-money laundering and on terrorism, on cybercrimes, on case management, sponsored respectively by the USAID, UNDP, the EU, and the UNICEF. The capacity of the judiciary to design and deliver its own training programs is expected to be enhanced with the enactment of new legislation, whose draft was prepared by consultant Awasisi Sabali and funded by the USAID. It was reviewed, the draft was reviewed and adopted at a validation workshop held last weekend. We now propose to provide a legal framework for the establishment and operations of the Judicial Training Institute. As an autonomous body, whose mandate will now extend to providing training not only for judicial officers, but for all legal officers within the public service, including law enforcement agents, etc., and law officers in the Ministry of Justice as well. And we look forward to the early enactment of the legislation and the commencement of the Institute's operations under a full-time management guided by a board of directors. In the course of the new legal year, our primary focus will naturally be on the core activity of the judiciary, the hearing and determination of cases, and of course on all the matters that impact on the discharge of that mandate, improving the physical infrastructure of the courts, particularly with regard to additional courtrooms, reform of rules, use of technology, etc., improving our human capacity, etc. Particularly for the High Court, in terms of improving the human resource capacity. While the benches of all the other superior courts are fairly adequate, indeed, even of the subordinate courts, the Supreme Court has a full complement, so does the Court of Appeal. The subordinate courts are well staffed at the moment, adequate and stable with local judges and local judicial officers. The High Court continues to experience a high number of vacancies. The High Court jurisdiction is a very important point of the legal system, with the court exercising an appellate mandate from the decisions of the subordinate courts, an original jurisdiction in all civil and criminal matters, and an exclusive original jurisdiction in respect of all alleged violations of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution. If a strong bench with a full complement of judges is required for such a heavy jurisdiction. In the months ahead, efforts will be made to fill the existing vacancies on the High Court bench with the recruitment of qualified and suitable Gambians as judges of the High Court. We look forward to more interest in serving on the bench from legal practitioners, particularly from the private legal sector, and I hope we can expect some of them to cross over. The use of technology in the court process has intensified in the past year in order to reduce and ultimately eliminate reliance on longhand recording of court procedures, and I think you heard on this from the President of the Bar. With its numerous adverse effects, the judiciary, with the assistance of the UNDP, has introduced and installed a computer-aided transcription system in 3 high courts and in the Court of Appeal on a pilot basis. The USA, through the ABA, is assisting us in rolling out that system to all the superior courts and eventually expand the system to support all court activities and functions by digitalizing key judiciary processes and procedures, from the filing of cases to the delivery of judgment. The process for recruiting a consultant for this expanded phase of this computer project is already at an advanced stage. In addition, the judiciary has, in the course of the year, received substantial donations of computers, printers, and photocopiers from the UNDP and the UNICEF to assist our operations. We wish to record our great appreciation to them for such assistance. Your Excellency, Mr. President, when your government issued a white paper last year accepting the recommendations of the TRRC, it opened up a chapter in the workload of the judiciary for the trial of those persons who allegedly committed serious crimes and violations of the rights of others during the period investigated by the TRRC. The primary responsibility for the trial of such cases rests on the national authorities, that is the law enforcement and the local courts. Foreign state or international jurisdictions often have a welcoming role to play, too, particularly in respect of cases where for legal, jurisdictional, or other factors, the national authorities are unable to discharge their primary responsibility. I understand in this context, as the Attorney General has mentioned also, that there is ongoing consideration for the establishment of a hybrid or internationalized court for the prosecution of some of the cases. This is very welcome as a complement to the local judiciary. As a complement to the local judiciary. Our courts have already been active at various levels, in the High Court, in the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, in some of these TRRC cases, with the trials and ensuing appeals in the cases of State versus Yankuba Toure and the case of State versus Yankuba Baji and others, as well as on the constitutional immunity issues involved in the Yankuba Toure case. Ensuring accountability for the crimes identified by the TRRC will create a substantial additional workload for our courts. We are ready to do so, to undertake that workload, but we will need to strengthen the capacity of the local courts to manage this workload quickly and efficiently. I propose, therefore, shortly, by constitutional order, to establish a special division of the High Court to hear and determine these cases, as well as other serious criminal cases which fall outside the scope of the TRRC. The Judiciary welcomes very much the provision by the Executive and by the National Assembly of resources in the 2023 national budget to cover some of the costs of such a division in relation to staff, equipment, and operations. We look forward to additional funding by donors to provide supplementary support to the division, which we plan to make operational by the middle of this year. This additional arrangement of having a special division, in our view, will ensure timely trial of these serious cases, and also, importantly, leave a lasting legacy for the judiciary and for the country well after the TRRC cases are concluded. Finally, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, I wish to record my appreciation to the immediate past Judicial Secretary, Honorable Justice Aissatou Jallow, the overseeing Judicial Secretary, Mr. George, Lamin George, the judges, the senior management, and the entire staff of the Judiciary, as well as our stakeholders, such as the Ministry of Justice and the Bar, the Gambia Bar, for their immense support and contribution to the execution of the Judiciary Strategic Plan in the past 1 year. And also to congratulate the Honorable Attorney General Minister of Justice for the steps he has taken in reorganizing and strengthening the Ministry of Justice to enable it discharge its mandate, its responsibility, much more effectively. That can only benefit the judiciary and benefit the cause of justice. It is now my great honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, to address the gathering and to open the 2023 legal year. I thank you for your attention.
Well, that's the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan B. Jallow, there delivering his statement. And now the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow, is now about to take to the podium to deliver his statement as we officially observe the opening of the 2023 legal year currently underway at the Supreme Court premises in Banjul. The President is now about to deliver his statement. Let's take a listen.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, my Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice, Justices of the Superior Courts, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Honorable Cabinet Ministers, President and members of the Gambia Bar Association, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, members of the Legal Fraternity, chiefs and governors, the Legal Year Committee, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Before proceeding with my statement, I will assure you that I will make a very brief as a short statement. That will be different from our friend from the Bar Association, the president of the Bar Association. He raised concerns that Gambia needs a new constitution. I want to assure him and the people gathered here and the entire Gambian people that will provide them with a new constitution. It will be a new constitution, a constitution that we will call the Constitution of the Gambia, but not a constitution that will target individuals. The centrality of justice in a democracy makes the annual celebration of the legal year particularly significant for the Gambia. The occasion gives us the opportunity to review our performance within the legal sector and look ahead, to plan better and work harder to address our shortcomings and reinforce our strengths. For this purpose, I will briefly make specific references to exemplify our commitment to justice and the law. Over the years, my government took gains, strives to uphold good governance, democracy, and the rule of law, especially with regard to separation of powers between the three organs of government. In doing so, we have accomplished a lot towards the establishment of justice and the provision of legal services through the Ministry of Justice. Especially, my government considers the white paper on the findings of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, TRRC, as a major part of our national transitional justice process, and we hold ourselves duty-bound to implementing it in a transparent manner. To achieve this, we are working with relevant stakeholders and partners to establish a prosecution system to impartially try the perpetrators of human rights abuses and violations mentioned in the report. The white paper also contains the government expressed decision to set up a special prosecution office mandated to investigate and prosecute accused persons within its terms of reference. It is worth observing that the prosecution of crimes such as torture, enforced disappearances, and crimes against humanity are not specifically provided for under Gambian law. To deliver justice, therefore, we propose to develop a special judicial framework and create a hybrid court to try perpetrators whose offenses amount to international crimes. We will pursue this in agreement with our obligation under customary international law. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my government's decision to establish an independent National Human Rights Commission to effectively advise human rights in Gambia has already gained international approval. The Commission has attained and A status accreditation with the Global Alliance for National Human Rights Institutions. It is indeed a historical milestone in our transitional justice process. At home, in observance of best international human rights standards, the government has stepped up engagements to respect, protect, and promote the fundamental human rights of people, with specific focus on women, children, and marginalized groups. Through the Ministry of Justice, cases of sexual and gender-based violence are diligently prosecuted to discharge justice for the victims. Likewise, to reduce crime and violence, thorough investigations and proper procedures precede the prosecution of all suspects brought before the law. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Access to Information Act raises the prospects for greater transparency and accountability. The government has facilitated the training of record officers from different ministries for them to execute their mandates as required within the provisions of the Act. My government understands the implications of misinformation and false news fed to the public. And we have full respect for the freedom of expression and association under international law. As such, we should all take responsibility to willingly implement the Act and safeguard our democratic institutions. This is essential for sustaining peace, order, and national stability. To guarantee the separation of powers between the three main organs of the government, particularly the independence of the judiciary. My government does not interfere with the administration of justice. In fact, we have consistently supported the appointment of independent and impartial judges to preside over cases based on the law. I am pleased to state that to address the welfare of the sector personnel, Cabinet recently approved the long-awaited Judicial Officers Remuneration and Other Emoluments Bill. Hopefully, the Ministry of Justice will present it to the National Assembly soon. It will lead to the first ever legislation to regulate and protect the conditions of service of judicial officers, particularly judges of the superior courts. Also granted Cabinet approval is the Legal Practitioners Amendment Bill. The bill has provisions to guide the General Legal Counsel on free legal services for needy persons, as well as strengthening the regulation of legal practice. To address the backlog of cases in the judiciary and ensure equal access to justice, we now have additional courts that operate within Bundun Law Court Complex. Members of the legal fraternity, distinguished guests, I have reconstituted the Judicial Service Commission, guided by the Constitution and other responsibilities, and among other responsibilities, it is to advise the President on the appointment of judges and make recommendations on way forward of improving the administration and efficiency of the courts. All these are geared towards maintaining the independence of our judicial system. The security services have also made improvements on the execution of their duties, and they are aware of the need to operate under the rule of law. Correspondingly, there are ongoing efforts to guarantee the rights of prisoners and improve prison conditions to ease the rehabilitation and reintegration of inmates into society after imprisonment. The government will pursue this further through partnerships with NGOs and train prisoners on rights issues and essential life skills. The approval of the Gambia Prison Amendment Bill 2023 is another big leap towards better prison management and good governance. Once enacted, the Act will establish the Gambia Prison Services and the Gambia Prison Service Council to regulate the prisons, custody treatment, and prisoners' rights in compliance with our obligations under international law. In the same vein, we have enacted other legislations under the Disabilities Act and the Gambia Public Procurement Authority GPPA Act to effectively fight corruption. The new procurement legislation will complement the anti-corruption law, which is currently before the National Assembly. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, an objective review of the legal sector will clearly reveal my government's commitment to entrenching democratic values and principles in our governance structures and procedures. Despite all the challenges we have attained, the key objectives set for the sector and have mapped a way forward to strengthening the rule of law in the Gambia. I extend profound gratitude to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime for relentlessly supporting the development of the 2023 roadmap in the areas of criminal justice administration and transitional crimes. We are equally grateful that we are committed to providing more budgetary support and resources for a stronger criminal justice system in the country. In all fairness, the judiciary under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Justice Hassan V. Jallow similarly deserve commendation for the achievement registered since the beginning of the transitional justice process. They have restored public confidence in our legal system. It is obvious that the successes relating to the enforcement of the rule of law, good governance, democracy, and human rights are largely due to the foundation of justice laid by the judiciary and our resolve to develop a better Gambia. As our primary goal is to attain a prosperous and stable democracy, living by the law and committed Gambian citizens in an ethical means of achieving it. I encourage the legal sector personnel to live by the ethics of their profession and deliver in accordance with the Constitution and other laws, as we expect them to interpret and apply them on behalf of the people. While wishing you all a successful year ahead, I now have the honor of declaring the 2023 legal year officially open.
Well, viewers, that was the President of the Republic, President Adama Barrow, there delivering his opening statement at the opening of the 2023 legal year, currently at the Supreme Court premises in Banjul. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. And also our other crew is in Banjul. And then it's just midday here in the Gambia, and you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. I'm here with my colleague, Jude Jai. Just to give you a recap of the statements delivered here. First was the President of the Gambia Bar Association, Saliu Tal, who, as you have heard from him, did highlight some of the achievements registered in the past years. He talked about a lot that, from 2017 to date, the demand for justice has really increased. This is perhaps due to the expectation that the people have on the judiciary. However, there exist some challenges. I mean, key among them is the issue of delayed conclusion of cases, and of course backlog of cases, and also, I mean, like Almame Salih said, I mean, like when it comes to high-profile cases, I mean, there's always that, you know, they're always given expedite hearing, the expedite, I mean the hearing, and also, I mean, accused persons who are charged with non-bailable cases. Sometimes, you know, their cases are delayed. Some of them struggle to get a lawyer, like you said, I mean, at the start of this of this program. But it's important, like Salih said, I mean, this will require a collective effort to be able to address some of the challenges confronting, I mean, the judiciary sector, which is really important. But he talked on the issue of the TRC. Like I said, I mean, he talked about the implementation of the TRC recommendations, and of course the need for us to have a new constitution, which, as you have heard from the president at the start of his statement, he did actually teased by responding to Salih Tal that, you know, he promised Gambians a constitution, but he went further to say a constitution of the Gambia, not a constitution that will target some individuals. Exactly. What's your take on that response from the president?
I think this is what Gambians were really expecting from him, for the fact that the 1997 constitution was regarded as a one-man constitution, for the fact that it entails most of the provisions there, you know, favoring the incumbent, the then president of the Gambia, Yahya Jammeh, and for the fact that they will just sit when scenarios or cases occur, that is the time they will revisit the constitution and look at some of the provisions and then decide to change them to suit their own interest. But the president is saying that this particular constitution, that, you know, he promised that he promised Gambians that, you know, it will come into force and it will be the people's constitution. I think that is very important. But let's remember that the Gambia, we started a constitution, you know, process in the Gambia where millions of dollars were spent, and of course many people are saying that it was people's constitution, but one of the main reasons why that constitution was really trashed out was for the fact that the powers of the executive were limited, and of course the term limit. It has been really controversial. Those are the two clauses or sections that were really controversial in that particular constitution, and it was a constitution whereas the people of the Constitutional Review Commission were able to go up to the diaspora, I think for the first time in the history of the Gambia, to gauge the opinion of the people in the diaspora, in, you know, to put their views in the constitution, the draft constitution. But unfortunately, it could not, you know, make it through the finishing line. But if the president is coming again to say that this particular constitution that he promised people is going to be people-centered, it's going to be the people's constitution, well, let's see. You know, hence it's the people. Let's see what the people will say again.
Exactly. I mean, you've also heard from the Chief Justice, Hassan B. Jallow, in his statement. I mean, he said in 2022, they received over 11,000 cases that were filed across all the courts. I mean, which is like 30% more than 2021.
Exactly.
I mean, and then he talked about issue of most of these civil matters were land-related disputes in the West Coast region, and then he has even proposed the need to have a land and commercial dispute court that will help address some of these issues. And of course, he also talked about the need for us to enact laws that will help regulate these real estate agencies.
Exactly. He also mentioned about the real estate, and I think that is a crucial point for the fact that he mentioned that most of these land cases also involve the real estate companies. So these real estate agencies, it means there is a need to look into their dealings, both from the alcalos and of course the government, to regulate it. Land issues in this country over the years has been really problematic, and I think there is a need, high time, for the Gambia to really put some attention, because we've seen like people in Gunjur, in Sifo and all other places within the West Coast region, we have been seeing land problems and disputes here and there, resulting to some even, you know, having to go to court. But most of these cases are not resolved outside of the court. they will just go straight.
They are not having a group photo, quite symbolic. The legislature, the Speaker of the Parliament, Honorable Bubacar is seated. Next to him is Jallow. You have the President of the Republic. You have the Chief Justice. I mean, it's quite symbolic. Three arms of government fully represented.
Exactly. it really means a lot. And, you know, this goes to show that these people are the people that are really having the country. These are the people that the country relies on for development, for accountability, for justice, for everything. So it's really important for them to come together and to work together, to put aside politics and whatever personal issue that they have, but they should look at the country and make sure that the Gambia really develops. Like all of them mentioned, we should all see the country first before anything else. And, you know, in all of their speeches, you know, what really came out, or what stood out, is the fact that in as much as Gambia we really made progress, but there is huge challenge that we have.
They admit.
Exactly. They admit openly that there is a problem in this country when it comes to the dispensation of justice, when it comes to the, you know, human resource, when it comes to, you know, resources allocated to the judiciary, when it comes to people as a Gambia, you know, the problems that we have. So all these things boils down to who we are as a people. And even the Hassan B. Jallow did say that, you know, he advised the judges not to prolong unnecessarily prolonged cases. And he's aware of the fact that, you know, judges that sometimes unnecessarily prolong cases. And which is not...
And because of that, you know, you heard him talk about measures that he intends to take. I mean, by setting up what he said, prison visiting committee, who will visit the prisons every 6 months to find out who are the detainees there, how long have their cases been going on, and also, I mean, he talked about the issue of, I mean, prosecution. If we are not able to prosecute your case within 90 days, maybe they can just discharge or acute the accused person. I mean, it's because with that, then it's going to, you know, deter the tendency of you having cases being prolonged, or you having accused persons being unnecessarily detained
for so long, you know, without having to have justice. I think this is really, that in itself is a height of injustice.
Because when there's no prosecution, then the person will just be in prison.
Exactly, especially on bailable offenses. And I think they should really prioritize offenses like that. And I think they've made it categorically clear that, you know, henceforth, the government, in collaboration with the ECOWAS Court, they are coming to put up measures to be able to, you know, prosecute these cases outside of the Gambia. I think that is really a commendable
because like you have heard from the president, he's saying, like, I mean, you know, prosecuting torture and enforced disappearances is not provided for in our laws. So what they want, what they need now is to have a sort of a hybrid code, and that they're now working with ECOWAS to ensure they're able to. But this will also take time.
Of course,
it's a long process.
It's a long process. But what we could do internally as a people, it's to, you know, really look at these. Some of these cases and then deal with them. You know, these high-profile cases cannot just be ignored like that.
No, exactly.
You know, it cannot really be ignored like that, for the fact that it's not even safe for the people who are in prison there. Leaving someone who is accused of like murder or manslaughter or whatever, for the person to go in jail and mixing with other people who are there, and perhaps they are even innocent, you know, to be mingling with them in itself is not safe. So I think this initiative is really a great one, and for the fact that they are all committed to making sure that the Gambia's judicial system is independent, effective and efficient. I think that is a good one. But Saliu Tal actually mentioned very good points, and points that we should really reflect on as a country, because he said that as a country, if we really are serious about democracy, to move forward to the development of the country, to standardize the country, we should not base it on the draconian media laws.
Because like you said, we still have the same constitution, the same criminal code, the same public order act. I mean, so these are things that for him, he believed, I mean, the reason why Gambians went in for that change in 2016, according to him, is not fully in code, fully achieved.
Exactly.
Going by this.
So he is calling on the repeal of these draconian media laws, and of course for the Gambia, which are of course designed to perpetuate the people. Like he said, it was a one-man constitution, where a president would just come, where it favors the president, and then the president would just. But right now we are saying that it's a Gambian constitution, and he is also.
Those are beautiful images from our drone source by our team in Banjul, Bakshen, Abdou Sise, and Mod Lamin Choi, giving us those beautiful shots of Banjul. That's Banjul for you, the capital of the Gambia. And then you are still watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, and our crew also is in Banjul, giving you live images as the opening of the 2023 legal year. The president is now having taking pictures with members of the judiciary. Julia.
Yeah. So what he mentioned was for the fact that he called on the president specifically to champion the implementation of the TRRC white paper. I think that is really very crucial, because I think these are one of the most important aspect of the Gambia's transitional justice process, the TRRC white paper, and to see to it that it is fully implemented, and to see to it that it is not some sort of witch hunt.
Excellent.
But of course they should, it's a collaborative effort. And he mentioned the fact that the judiciary is really struggling. They have a lot of challenges as in human power, and of course they have challenges when it comes to the dispensation of justice, and of course the review of the courts, to the rules of the court in itself.
The rules of proceedings.
To help in making sure that these lot of cases are actually dealt with, and to make sure that the Gambia moves to the right direction. So actually it's a challenge for everybody. He challenged not only the government but us as a people to really reflect on the 2016 presidential election. What we fought for as a country, as a people, it's still there. And that's just the fact of the matter. We fought for, against dictatorship, against these draconian media laws, against the delay of justice, against, corruption, against, accountability, against, we fought about a lot of things as a country. But if those things are still there, if we still have to reflect, or if you still have to base on those things, then it means still now our problem is still existing. And we are not coming out of the problem still.
And you've heard from the president, saying the cabinet has approved a bill that will help to improve the condition of services for the judiciary to be tabled before Parliament by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Do you think this is enough to address the working condition, of a judicial staff? Because you're talking about issue of corruption, and then at the start of the program, you were emphasizing the need for them to be well paid, to be able to, carry out, or administer justice fairly and, speedily.
It's partially enough, but not really, because life is not all about money. You're giving me millions, and then at the end of the day, you are interfering with the work that I am doing. That in itself also you're infringing on my right, and as a result,
which we haven't seen happening
yet.
Openly, like having the executive interfering.
And he specifically even mentioned the fact that his, government, they are not in any way interfering with the work of the judiciary, which I think it's a very good move. So, but in these things there are conditions. If you improve the working condition of the judges, you improve their salaries, what next? Are you still going to be that independent? Because then the president is more empowered. The president will do the job effectively and efficiently, and then the president will not be lazy. But then what are you taking in return? Are you just doing it for accountability, for justice, and to the oath that you have, the oath that you have taken, or you're doing it to get a favor in return? So these are the things that we really should be careful of. But it's a welcome move. I just hope that it comes to pass as soon as possible, and then the judiciary will be, they will be able to function effectively and efficiently.
Thank you very much, Julden Jai. Well, viewers, you're still watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue, and also getting live images from Banjul, where the president has just delivered his opening statement of the 2023 legal year. My colleague, Modlamin Choi, who is in Banjul, is now on the line. Choi, I mean, you've been following deliberations, the addresses made by the Minister of Justice, the Chief Justice, the President of the Gambia Bar Association, the President of the Republic. I mean, they have said a lot. I mean, one key takeaway from Salou Tall's address is that another challenge that is facing that is faced by the litigants is the issue of enforcement of judgment. What more can you tell us about the addresses delivered by all the speakers?
Thank you very much. As you stated, we heard from the President of the Gambia Bar Association, Salou Tall, who delivered a very long speech. But significant highlight of that speech is the fact that we are in a new dispensation. There has been at least some tremendous support from the executive, which has resulted in landmark decisions from the judiciary.
Something that is quite a challenge, which is the fact that we have the judiciary dispensing justice in the country, but there have been also a challenge in the area of enforcement of decisions by the court. Usually,
Choi, we've lost a connection with our colleague there, Modlamin Choi, who is in Banjul right now. I mean, like I said, I mean, you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private division. Choi is now back online. Yes, Choi. Choi. Well, my colleague Modlamin Choi there is in Banjul. Choi, if you can hear me loud and clear.
President
yes.
of the Gambia Bar Association, Salou Tall, who delivered, a long speech, and the speech highlights the fact that, in this new dispensation, we have seen landmark decisions from the judiciary, which of course, involve criminal cases, which also involves decisions that have been challenged by civil society organizations, and also local government. And then the judiciary has delivered judgments which have been really landmark in the jurisprudence of the country. So, but significant part of the highlight of the speech of the Gambia Bar Association is the fact that there have been challenges in terms of enforcement of the court's decisions. Usually, the courts will make decisions and orders will be issued, and to enforce that really has been a challenge and which needs addressing. So the other problems that he has also highlighted is the fact that 6 years after the new dispensation, we're still living under draconian laws that were established by the previous regime, which could still be used against the population of the country. And the fact that we still don't have a new constitution, that has been the highlight of the President of the Gambia Bar Association. So the Chief Justice also delivered a speech which also highlights the achievements that the judiciary has made and the challenge. And part of the highlights of the speech of the Chief Justice is the fact that we've registered at least 30% increment in the registration of cases in the Gambia across all courts in the country, which somehow one might argue or one might say that it is an increase in public confidence in the judiciary of the country. But still we have backlog of cases, over 6,000 cases registered in 2022, about 2,000 that have been disposed of by the judiciary. There still remains more to be done, and he has also declared an intention to ensure that at least there is expeditious, speedy and fair trial of all the remaining cases by ensuring that the prosecution team deliver within 90 days. So His Excellency, the President, just very briefly also assures the Gambians that the country will have a new constitution. His government is working towards ensuring that we have a constitution that is fit for all. So also he talked about the fact that they are also working with partners in order to set special prosecution office in accordance with the decisions in the white paper that have been issued by the government of the Gambia in line with the TRRC recommendation. So also commitment, diligent, prosecution of SGBV, and ultimately, his speech really emphasizes the fact that the executive is trying to ensure that at least there is there are legal reforms. His executive is committed to ensuring that there is independence of the judiciary in the country. Independence of the judiciary is entrenched to ensure that there is rule of law and democracy in the country, and his government will do everything possible to ensure that at least the judiciary is supported to do its work properly.
Yes, like you said, Choi, I mean, you talk about the lack of a constitution. I mean, the draft constitution was democratically rejected at the National Assembly in 2021. I just want to know, I mean, you heard the president talk about a new constitution for the Gambia. He said, I mean, a constitution of the Gambia, not a constitution that will target some individuals. What do you think the president was trying to put across here?
The president's speech highlights the political division in the country with regards to the previous constitution that was, drafted, got to the National Assembly and couldn't pass the second reading. The president was highlighting the fact that, the atmosphere, the political atmosphere, there was division, on that constitution, which also resulted in the National Assembly, rejecting it. And basically, it is his belief that the draft constitution, what his speech implies is that the draft constitution, targeted individuals. And this time around, the government of the Gambia is working hard to ensure that at least there is a constitution that will be fit for all, a constitution that will, that all Gambians will take ownership of. Or many Gambians. It is important to highlight here that whatever laws that are made or whatever laws that are drafted in this country, it might not suit everyone. It might, suit the interests of everyone. But ultimately, a law established or drafted in the country gearing towards ensuring that at least it is for the greater good of the population of the country. That's what the speech of the president implies there.
And you've heard from the Chief Justice. He talked about, I mean, the civil matters. I mean, he talked about the issue of land disputes, particularly in the West Coast region. He has even suggested the need to have what you call land and commercial courts. I mean, do you think that is enough to address the issue of land problem in the West Coast region, particularly West Coast region? And he even talk about the issue of enacting laws that's going to regulate the real estate agencies.
This is quite interesting, and the Chief Justice, has highlighted there has been an increment in the registration of cases in the Gambia, but looking at most of those cases, or many of them, really relate to land disputes, and which many of them happened or are filed within the jurisdiction of the West Coast region. So there needs to be urgent attention towards helping, towards ensuring that the capacity of the judiciary is strengthened, to make sure that at least there is, at least proper settlement of these disputes. So, we highlighted, the fact that at least there should be, a proper attention given to this, and encourage people, at least the public, participants or litigants, to work with their legal practitioners to ensure that at least there is out-of-court settlement. Because, the backlog of cases in the judiciary is putting so much pressure on the dispensation of justice in the country here. So the Chief Justice of the Gambia has encouraged Gambians, especially litigants, parties, including their legal practitioners, to work, towards ensuring that at least out-of-court settlement is promoted for the peace and stability in the country here to prevail.
Thank you very much, Modlamin Choi, my colleague there at the Supreme Court in Banjul, or of course High Court if you want. I mean, it's all in the same premises. Thank you very much, Modlamin Choi, together with the team there, Bakshen and Abdul Sise. Thank you so much for giving us those beautiful images. And Choi, thank you so much for your thoughts on what's been happening in Banjul. And now back to my colleague here in the studio, Jude. I mean, like I said, I mean, we're just about to wrap up now, but finally, you've heard from the Minister of Justice. He said, I mean, as part of efforts to ensure people have access to lawyers and all those things. I mean, they have appointed, I mean, 12 young and capable counsels. I mean, they also plan to decentralize, I mean, the legal services across the country for people to have access to legal representation.
Yeah, which is a very good move. One of the statements that he made that really caught my attention is for the fact that they are going to intensify their efforts in, making sure that Gambia has an intellectual property, which I think it's long overdue. The country really needs that. And of course, to also make sure that he said this has been gazetted already and it's ready to be tabled or presented at the National Assembly. And of course, the copyright and rights treaty, bill, which I think also is another important component of this, the justice delivery system in the country. People really in this country do not that much respect copyright. I mean, they just take people's properties and credits without giving them credits. So
or use it for commercial purposes.
Commercial purposes without giving any credits. So I think it's high time we really introduce this as a country, as a people, to be able to respect other people's properties, or to give credit at least if you happens to take from anybody. And of course, he also mentioned about the issue of digitalization. We were talking about this, in the beginning, for the fact that they are coming up with measures to make sure that the judiciary is, digitalized, to make sure that there is accountability and, effective delivery of the these cases to the satisfaction of the people. And so, I mean, these things, the minister has really highlighted very important point, and for the fact that they are also intensifying efforts to make sure that they appoint a director of public relations to be able to handle. And one key thing that really stood out from all of them is that the need of visibility. For the fact that there is a need to really sensitize the people about the work of the judiciary. And I think that is very, very important.
And now they have a Twitter account, huh?
Exactly. Accountability. There ought to be that accountability. And how do you do that? It's to engage the media. At this point in time, it's important that they know that there is a need to actually, sensitize people about the work of the judiciary, what they are doing, in order to really help them. Because all these cases can be settled out of court, cases that can be settled outside. But why are they having these lot of cases? Is because we are not using out of court, settling of these bills.
Exactly.
So, but if they are really sensitized, I think that will really help.
Thank you very much, Julden Jai, for your time. I mean, you've been so helpful on this program. Your thoughts are quite apt, and then thank you so much once again for being on the program. Well, viewers, with that we bring an end to this live broadcast of the 2023 legal year opening at Banjul, which was presided over by President Adama Barrow. I was your host, Aliou Cissé. On behalf of the production team, my colleague Modlamin Choi in Banjul, Bachsen, and Abdou Cissé. And also here in the studio, Aliou Jallow, Musa Bande, M. Jallow, Jibril, Tunkara, they have all been behind the team to ensure we have a very good production. On behalf of everyone here at QTV, we thank you so much for watching. Do join us and then continue watching QTV. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.